Hello, everybody. Hey, Danielle Fox. We have a lot to go over. Let me see if the thing is working as I want it to today. No, it's not. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Why would it? Why would it? I've got. Oh wait. Oh, sorry. That's my bad. I don't know why that picks it up, but the rest of it doesn't. That is so annoying to me. Oh, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Don't worry. Don't worry. All right, let me just let's go here real quick. That's what's up. That's what's up, chat. Don't hurt nothing now. Heyo. Oh wait, sorry. That's my bad. That's my bad. I had two things going on at the same time. Let's see if I can. Oh man, is it? No. What's it cutting off? That's now it's. Well, now what do you want from me? What the? Oh, it stopped. That sucks, dude. Damn, bro. That shit sucks. Did I really just... Oh, no. Damn. All right, give me a second. Damn. All right, give me 1 second. Oh yeah, Silas the Raccoon. I did see Beyond the Spider-Verse has a release date of fucking too many years from now. That is like honestly so disappointing. All right, we're gonna go ahead and do it like this. I'm just gonna plug in a different source today. Is that not gonna work either? Is that not that's so frustrating that it worked. Or it didn't work. All right, chat. What are we doing right now? I'm trying to get a damn game to work on stream, but you know how it is. Video games. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. What are you doing? What do you want? The what? Are you gonna be back? Okie dokie. What's up? That's an insane stream title. Well, I've got bad news because we're in an insane world. We're living in an insane world right now. Yeah, we got... All right, so I want to make sure that this was up and running. We can't hear you being cute with your partner. No, that's by design. Hey, look, not everything is gonna be a partner conversation, y'all. That's okay. That's okay. All right, I want to see if this is... can I put out the audio differently? Well, that's something at least, I guess. Huh. Yo, Dante from the Devil May Cry series? No. All right, chat. Before we get into that... May Fanny Log Legs, that's fucking crazy. I saw you and your partner playing in someone's living room through their window. Like on the TV, that's crazy. I need to... Who is Benny Johnson? Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Let's go. I actually want to change that really quick because that's annoying to me. There we go. All right, so... A whole bowl of them? Benny Johnson may be gay. So... Ashley St. Clair. We'll just jump right into it today. It's been 35... Has it really been 35 days, Awesome Stella? Oh my gosh. What? Okay, I need to take this down so Miss has a place to sit next to me. Come here, Kevin. Come here. Good goodness gracious. I can't fucking believe how quick this, month, God, this year. Like, I can't believe that we're over a third of the way through the year. Is it bad he's gay? No. I don't care if Benny Johnson is gay. The problem is that he is somebody who is so obviously a hypocrite and enable... Like, the problem with any conservative influencer isn't that they're gay. Like, honestly, I could give a shit. It's very much... It's not so different from... recently, there was a bit of a controversy with a YouTuber that I... do not know. It's one of those things where it comes across my feed every now and again where it occurs to me, oh, I just don't know so many people in the fucking streaming space. Okay, Kat, I cannot have you doing this. I cannot have you doing this right now. I can't. Miss, let go. Let go. Miss, what is your damage, Kat? Thank you. Thank you. No. Oh, no. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck. There you go. Good girl. Good baby. Here, I put this here so you can sit with me. I put it here so you can sit with me right here. She's like right here. But she's going to want to be on my lap, and then she's going to want to be on my chest. Amy Van Hart, thank you for 15 months. Lambda and Hoi Polloi, thank you also for following. Oh, I know the TikTok is muted. I'm not gonna play it just yet. Looking at you, Matador. I just got past the Matador the other day. Dragon Cat Overlord. It's Kira Jen Mystic, she loves you so much. She does, and she's being so good. She's loafing on the chair right next to me now. Yeah, the streamer space is just full of people I have no knowledge of. Like, for example, and this comes out anytime there's like, you know, a controversy. It'll be, oh, this person was accused of this, and I'm just like, who? I don't know. And that particularly happened recently with a character named Sukoi. I don't know. It was an S name, and he got accused of cheating. And depending on I guess the big controversy around it has been whether or not he was coercing, manipulating, and in so many words, assaulting women, which from everything I've read and seen on the subject, which admittedly haven't fucking dug down to the bones on it, but it seems like, yeah, he's a scumfuck piece of shit. People know exactly what they're doing. Stop giving abusers a way out to be like, well, she knew this and she said that she didn't do that. Like, fuck off. They know exactly what they're doing. Stop treating shitheads like children. Sikuno, yes. I believe Sikuno is the person who it was. But I was so, like, so unless I'm mistaken, it doesn't seem like he explicitly assaulted anybody. Like, and that's not in terms of, you know, obviously crossing boundaries and violating their trust, but in terms of like punching, hitting, beating, coercing. Like it to me. And at that level, there's nothing I've seen Sikuno having done that wasn't just like things that Destiny has done. I mean, Dractus Stormscale, I don't want to use too vulgar of language, but like obviously the coercion, if there was any kind of sexual contact, it was physical. That's probably the wrong way to phrase it, but it was not, you know, when you think of the archetype in people's heads of the kind of violation that sexual assault is, when people think of the kind of, you know, how it is represented in films and popular media and that kind of stuff, to my knowledge, it didn't seem like that. Oh yeah, Ivan Alvarez. I want to. What was I doing? I want to throw. By the way, I said I would start doing it a little bit more. We're gonna throw up, and tomorrow, by the way, I know I just released a stream highlight today. If you haven't checked that out, please do. Please go check out. I have a couple bigger projects that I'm working on right now. So it is getting to be one of those times where I like my everything is down from last month. So any interaction you can give, any comments, any shares, any likes to stuff that comes out, I super appreciate it. Go check out any new videos. Just leave it running in the background. But I wanted to shout out and show off Ive Alvarez. I'm still not sure how to pronounce that. Because I talked about it last stream, how I want to start showing off more cool people and more cool projects, and they sent me this. Is there anywhere, by the way, Alvarez, is there anywhere that the zine you sent me is readily available? Can I not? There we go. Because I want more people to check this out. I saw a news streamer talk today about how important comments. Oh yeah, like comments on videos are fucking insanely important. Ivan Alvarez. Yvonne? The at again? Oh, Yvonne, it's right there. Okay. Doi. I didn't even see the fucking phonetic pronunciation. But this was a wonderful, wonderful zine that was sent to me by Yvonne. And I wanted to show some of it off. Just change the A to an X. And no, the Z is not available yet, just physical copies, but I think I'll upload it on Webtoon soon. Cool. Is it okay then that I show it off on stream? I think we had talked about it before. Oh, and yeah, so go follow over on Instagram, IVX and Alvarez. We're just showing a spotlight on a artist from the community. Yeah, okay, cool. What should I comment if I have nothing useful or relevant? Honestly, just whatever. Like just sharing, like, you know, comment on my outfit or something. Ask a inane question that causes, like, even just rage baiting for commenting is fine. I don't like doing that a lot because I don't know, it feels a little but you know, something that'll generate traction. All right. So it's really short, so we'll be able to go through it soon. Or go through it pretty quick. Silence is Killing Me by Yvonne Alvarez. Before thinking of comics, I wanted to make music. I took guitar lessons for a few years and became pretty decent at it. After reading The Umbrella Academy, I realized I'm more interested in telling stories in a visual medium. But my love for music, by the way, I love the compositing style. That's something I did when I first started working on my game years ago. Before it was going to have any kind of like interaction, my plan was to only use backgrounds, photos that I had taken like in downtown, dilapidated, condemned type areas. It's in fact, it's been growing with the years. All my stories are inspired by specific songs or albums, and also I'm a big fan of physical media, or a hoarder, whatever you want to call it. So my love story with music is deeply linked to CDs and MP3 players. I know MP3 players are just playing music in digital format and maybe shouldn't count as physical media. Shut up. I want to what's the name of my game? To Dawn and Back. I've shown it. It's a janky little art game that's on. It's still on itch.io. Lady is being a ragamuffin right now. Style of composition heavily inspired by Gorilla's art and Inio Asano's mangas. Hey, Juno dear. My first device was a Nexar MA933A MP3 player with 512 megabytes of storage. I was like 7 or 8 years old. Almost all the music was chosen by my uncle, so he threw a lot of classic heavy metal and thrash metal. Remember, I tried to make a trade with a friend for something, can't remember what, in exchange for my MP3. A few days later, I felt really guilty and asked for it back. My uncle put all my music back in there. Once I learned to do that, I started downloading songs and putting them on my own. There's a... I wonder if there's going to turn into there being a generational gap for sharing music. Like, if you're Gen Z, for example, have you had a similar experience to this? Because I did. I know a lot of other millennials did, where you got kind of your music taste. It was either, you know, CDs that your parents had that you downloaded to MP3s, or, you know, like stuff like that was a really big thing 10, 15 years ago. And I wonder if it's still, like, if people still do that. Just because of, like, how different we interact with music now. Like how often does anybody buy a CD versus just subscribing to Spotify or Apple or something? Then I had a Sony Walkman NWZ B172F with 2 gigabytes of storage. This one was my favorite. It looked cool and included a James LaBrie song called Euphoric that I really liked. Still into Metallica, Megadeth, Pantera, but also I got into progressive metal at the time, so I filled it with Tool and Dream Theater discography. Hell yeah. Also, my edgy phase started, I was like 10, so I threw some Slipknot in the Black Dahlia Murder. As this is a good, and Rust in Peace was the thing that was like, oh, fucking great cut. Great cut. Look, everybody wants to say Symphony of Destruction is the superior, like, the Megadeth classic album. For me, it's Rust in Peace. Like, Tornado of Souls is such a... Tornado of Souls and Take No Prisoners are such bangers. Then I had a Polaroid PMP with 4 gigabytes of storage. At the time, I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone yet, so I chose this one because it had a screen and looked good. It wasn't the best, but it was nice, and also I was able to put some pictures in it. This actually sounds a lot like one I had in middle school. That's kind of, or in high school. At this point, I was a little more into new metal and more electronic stuff. Gorillaz, Korn, Evanescence, Muse, Limp Bizkit, Getting Edgy. I love that. I learned a lot of good songs from Guitar Hero. I feel like that was another, like, I don't know. Guitar Hero was such a weird generational shot in the arm. Like, what is has there ever been, maybe something on MTV, but like, has there ever been such a massive, like a massive amount of resources in modern media that suddenly just expose an entire new generation to old music? Like, and not in a specific way where it's like, oh, you know, a fucking Beatles documentary came out, so people are listening to the Beatles now. But like, just here is this glut of kick-ass music from the 60s, 70s, 80s that somehow a subsection of entire generation now has a newfound respect for. Avant 110607 with 4 gigabytes. This one sucked. I chose it because it looked like an iPod. I was able to watch videos, but the button started failing in less than 6 months. It served its purpose, but wasn't the best. There was still a lot of MCR, Gorillaz, new metal, and stuff like that. In this moment, if Rob Zombie went into the daily mix, that's... Well, no, I guess if you're talking Final Frontier, that was what, 2010, 2011 for Maiden. So that would I think we're probably around the same age. A first cell phone, which was actually my mom's previous phone. I know what that shit's like. A pink Samsung Galaxy Ace Deal. Oh, why's it gotta be pink? Well, okay, well, I guess you won't have a phone at all. No, I know what that. Yeah. I also grew up with hand-me-downs. Chance to share music via Bluetooth, so a friend and I sent songs to each other. I started listening to songs out of my comfort zone, like a lot of electronic music, rap, and a bit of dubstep. 2010s, let's fucking go. Oh, hell yeah, the 3 Skrillex songs I downloaded from the internet that had the fucking, like, the full fucked up title. You know what's 25? Yeah, we're not that far apart. What the fuck was I saying? A underrated generational experience for me, I think, is having a good portion of the music on your phone not have album art and having fucked up titlings because you just straight up downloaded the file and it still has the shitty file extension. So it'll be like, you know, Iron Maiden number beast 207342, like parenthetical high quality, like shit like that. Oh, can't get it anymore. Maryland 614, thank you for $6.99 clear plastic compact CDs. Yeah, that's the generation I'm from. Clickety clackety phones, Kazaa, LimeWire, when pirating was way more common. They really, when you look at the totality of the internet, they fucking nipped pirating so quickly. Have you been enjoying the new downfall of the quartering? We've tried to look into the quartering cuck thing, and I think I'm just gonna have to do a deep dive and maybe make a summary video on my own. I don't know. I have so many things that I'm like, ooh, I should do a video on this. I should do a video on this. But I have my two big videos and I don't want to lose focus on them. I just need to fucking buckle down and film the second half of the other one. I was going to do a whole, because like, remember the nostalgia video I did? I had some sets, I did some green screen scenes, and I kind of took my time with it. And I had an idea for like, okay, the second half I'm going to do some outfits and stuff, but I just want to get it out. I want to get it done and I want to move on to the next thing. So I think I'm just going to record it, make the video, and put it out. Ghost, Gojira, Lamb of God, OTEP. That's a great fucking time to meet Ghost. Cell phone stayed with me for a few years while my music taste expanded, my storage ran out. I know that feeling. These days, I'm into Bandcamp and indie black metal. Shout out to Anti-Fascist Black Metal Network. Bought a few EPs, albums, and singles. Wanted to play them in WAV, but my phone's player has a shit ton of ads. Wait, what? That, Enshittification is such a I was hearing somebody talk about this the other day, and it is stuck with me, and I can't stop seeing it everywhere. How slow phones have gotten. Like, phones used to be so much more lickety split, and like my phone today, I was trying to fucking type something and I didn't have a whole bunch of windows open, and for some reason the browser window was taking time to load. And I'm like, what are we doing here? All my old MP3 players are dead now. My savior was my mom's old iPod Shuffle, and I mean, I'd like to be able to see the album cover on the screen while playing music, but it works great. I don't know. Shuffle is... if I honestly, the iPod Shuffle is such a weird anomaly because at the time I was like, who the fuck is, who is this for? But as a piece of technology that literally is meant for, here you put it on when you're going for a run or whatever, I see it. I see the appeal. Especially considering as I get older, I myself just put on, which is, kind of, ironic in a way because my musical taste grows all the time. And so my backlog of stuff grows. I add stuff constantly that I completely forget to listen to. So the more I put on random, the less likely I am to hear something I actually know. But that's also kind of like part of the appeal. Give me 1 second. Everybody said, hey, Koa. Thank you, baby. I love you. Device I didn't use. This one fucking brought me back. I had to go and look, and I was like, did I have that CD player as a kid? I had one that was similar. I definitely had one that was similar with some of the designs. Uncle's Discman. I used it a few times, but it was great. I used to go out with a friend to buy a bunch of CDs. The first time I listened to the Black Dahlia Murder was actually with that Discman, a borrowed copy of Nocturnal. I also remember buying from a friend his dad's copy of Slipknot's first album when I was like 10. That's a hell. As somebody who also had Slipknot's first album on, and I think I was like, yeah, I was probably like 12 or 13, but that is a perfect time to get that album. Marilyn, thank you for another $2.79. I imagine watching movies on a PSP. Okay, but here's the thing you have to understand. Is that while you can watch movies in high definition on these tiny little fucking screens, when you first saw, the first time I saw what a PSP could do, like I was in the school cafeteria in middle school, and some kid was playing one of the Grand Theft Auto games on a PSP. I was blown fucking away. Like it seemed like black magic. Like, and we don't have that kind of I don't know, like we got to such a point that all of the scale, all of the spectacle, you can put anything, you can put fucking Red Dead on a Steam Deck. Like it's not special anymore. You know, it's the same thing when people, I don't think people understand how many Game Boy Advance games are like artistic marvels because of the technical know-how put into them, right? Have a good one, Awesome Stella. Bruce Magson, I didn't get into Slipknot or Nine Inch Nails until adulthood. I'm bummed I didn't get into Nine Inch Nails until adulthood. I've gotten so into the back catalog, like further down the spiral and shit the last couple years, and I don't like. It's one of those bands that I'm like, this would have fucking been foundational if I listened to it as a teenager. Streaming was great at first. I had access to all kinds of music all the time. I started listening to more indie pop, industrial metal, synthwave, punk, hardcore, black metal. I fell in love with music my edgy teen version would hate but secretly enjoy. Real shit. Ibaraki. Let's go, Ibaraki. I don't know most of these, but I know Sunbather. The more time passed, things started to feel off. Not just streaming and tech, but the whole world. Glupshido. Cruel images, awful noise, hopelessness spreading like a virus. It's okay to take a break from all this, but I don't think brain rot and doom scrolling are good alternatives. Maybe reconnecting with the people around you, going through your old or your TBR list, watch list, a book that made you cry, a movie that made you happy. Which fucking, first off, another thing that made me want to read this or bring this out and show this off is the incredible ball knowledge on display here. The fucking, like, Gamera the Brave, real shit. Gamera the Brave is real shit right there. Like, look, it's not as good as the Heisei trilogy because few kaiju movies are, but Gamera the Brave whips. When I feel hopeless, I go for my favorite album ever. It makes me feel like everything will be okay, even in the apocalypse. I'm more of albums than playlists, so I'll recommend 5 albums that I love in no particular order. Habitua Paula, Cabio La Chica. I'm, again, sorry for my very Anglo pronunciation. Beetle Renee Moy, Imitation Diamond, Side Nerds, and We're Still Here by the Hers Collective. Thank you for reading. So, yeah, everybody go follow Yvonne Alvarez. Had a really great zine that I got sent. Like I said, I want to try showcasing more cool people in the community and their art. So if you have a cool thing, if you have a cool piece of art that you want to show off like this, something I can tackle in like 20 minutes, send it to my email address, and I will try and put a cool spotlight on it. Thank you for Gyodarak. Thank you for $10. It's getting to the point where you are appreciating designers and programmers for working with restraint rather than blowing through a multi-million-dollar budget with no concern for quality. Well, and I think like that's one of the things that I've really, because I've been doing my little PlayStation 2 only games for a year quest. I've been keeping a notebook of some of the feelings that I'll have or some of the things that I'll observe about like trends in games and game design and how I'm kind of feeling. And one of the weirdest parts that I just noticed like last month, because I've been doing this for, a couple months now, only playing PS2 games or games from the PS2 era. And it is like literally changed. Like I feel part of my brain chemistry has changed because it's no longer, I've stopped caring in any way about like achievements. Yeah, the zine isn't public yet. I've stopped caring in any way about achievements. I no longer, here's another thing that I didn't, like, you realize it, you think about it, and you're like, yeah, modern games, they're meant to get you to keep playing and, buy DLC and stuff. But being able to, or I guess having to play a game where you have to, like, have hard stopping points, like you have to stop at a checkpoint, like, okay, I gotta go do something, but let me save and come back to it later, is such a godsend, like in a weird way, a godsend for time, because it makes it so much easier to be like, okay, no, I'm playing this, and then I'm stopping, and then I'm going and doing something else. It's not like I haven't had the urge to be like, okay, well, one more. Okay, well, one more. Okay, well, you know what, and then I'll go after this. But I've also, it's so weird that I've been having more fun without those kind of, you know, carrots on a stick and all the things that modern games hold over you. I've had so much more fun engaging and interacting with games like old open world games. Like I played Mercenaries on stream. Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City I've been messing around in here and there. What's the other? Oh, True Crime LA. Or like just they're just fun to walk around in. Fun to just fuck around. Like I will just walk around for 10, 15 minutes in a Grand Theft Auto game, not really doing anything. Not with any goal in mind, but it's still fun. Like I don't know, there was just a there are so many different things to how we make games, how we approach them as art nowadays, that when you look back and you're actually like kind of steeped in it a little bit more, become, I think, a lot more clear. And yeah, it's a bummer in a lot of ways. Thank you very much, Marilyn, for another 13. Danger Days reminds me of Grant Morrison, who was in the Sing music video. He had the best quote, "The world is a dark and miserable place. In face of that, the most rebellious thing to do is be happy." Amen. All right, so that is Yvonne Alvarez. Go follow them. Let's get right into the stuff today. Ashley St. Clair threatens to release receipts against media personality Benny Johnson. This is from Where is the Buzz? I think this is one of the only places I've seen talking about this in any way. Conservative influencer Ashley St. Clair issued a direct video threat to right-wing media personnel, which, by the way, I think it was Milo. Milo Yiannopoulos was this same thing. Thank you for reading. Of course, Yvonne. Milo Yiannopoulos was doing very similar stuff a couple months ago now, which Benny Johnson said that he was going to come out and sue Milo, right? Over false allegations that he was gay. Where did that go? She to believe incriminating details about him due to alleged disparaging remarks Johnson made about her family and parenthood. Lil Epic Girl, thank you for $10. Quick question: what is your process for starting a project? Oof. I was thinking about starting my own channel similar to Deep Dives because I'm tired of sitting on my bum and just watching it. Well, research is generally where I start. So if there's a topic I look at and I say, okay, so I always start with who else has talked about this? How have they talked about this? How have they covered it? I go and watch those pieces, kind of pick them apart, be like, okay, well, is there an angle that hasn't been covered? Can I add anything to the conversation? Is this something I can investigate more on my own outside of this? And then if I decide yes, this is or if it's a smaller in scope piece, I'm going to do the piece I did last year about fucking, I did a kind of deep dive, as deep as it could be for that person with the depth of a thimble, but I did a deep dive last year on Jesse Waters. And it, a lot of that is just going and looking up old interviews and looking at old allegations and then digging into where those came from and corroborating them. So I guess it kind of depends on what the topic is, what the severity of it is. something, if I'm talking about a movie or something cultural, or I'm talking about something with a little bit more artistic flexibility for my own interpretation or whatever, then I will not quite be as stringent on facts and citations and needing evidence and stuff, because I'm more talking from the heart, so to speak, or talking from personal perspective. But then if it's something that is like, okay, this involves real crimes, real people, real effects on the world, then I do want to be a lot more clinical with it, and so I will read books on the topic, and I will talk about how those things interact, and be able to learn and read more shit about that stuff. So I guess research into it, the topic itself, and then getting down a shit ton of sources. Those are the two things that I say, or I would say, for starting a project. And then I kind of just go from there. Like, usually there's also something that comes up when I'm looking through sources. Like, so if I'm reading a book and it mentions another book, and like, oh, this thing is slightly, this contributed later to attitudes towards this. And then, okay, I'll go and look that up. And then I'll go read that book, or I'll go look up a summary of that book if I don't want to, delve deep into that tangent. So it is a lot of just compiling sources, going through them, picking out the most useful information to then build a cohesive kind of narrative. Because that's really what a lot of it, there's this kind of underrated aspect of video essays that I think a lot of people don't. And you see this a lot when we look at like dorks on the right wing who, they'll put out their 10-minute essays talking about why Jews are making video games bad, or whatever the fuck conspiracy bullshit. And you go and you look at them, and it's very clear they're talking off the cuff, because they're just kind of imitating what they've seen other people do. And the one thing that is not very, and that a lot of people don't do, is that I come from a background of journalism. Like, I come from a background, I took journalism classes in college. I worked in the game industry for several years doing journalist shit. Like, I get it. But that's where I really, when I started making video essays, when I started covering anything, even when it was just video games and shit, that's where I kind of started from. The perspective of, how can I tell this story? And one of the things they teach you, one of the many things they teach you in journalism school, is to lay out a kind of narrative, how you bring a reader into it. And a lot of those skills, I find, translate directly to making videos. Like, when I am doing a quote-unquote documentary, one of the hardest things to do is insert things like interviews, because I am giving somebody this is something I kind of had a I don't want to say an issue, but it was a little tricky when I was doing the LA documentary, because I was giving you the entire point of the LA documentary was to give viewers, through this kind of feature-length, first-person perspective, give you a view on the ground of what it's like at an anti-ICE protest, right? And that, as I expanded on that, as I did research after the fact, because that's, how I do undercover stuff is an entirely different thing, because instead of gathering sources, I have to go topic by topic, so I have to note shit as it's happening to me. I'll leave little notes in my phone, just be like, okay, look this up later, and then that'll go into the video. But for the LA doc, that would be like when I talked to the National Guard member anonymously, and they were talking about troop deployments and where people had come in from. Because for those who don't know, when I did my documentary going down to Los Angeles, when I was down there, a National Guard member, they weren't anonymous to me, but they contacted me and wanted to be interviewed anonymously. And so that became another question of like, okay, where do I fit that in? Right? Because I don't want it to break up the flow. Like, I sat down and talked to this person for 40 minutes. There's a lot of good stuff there. But how do I then take the most useful information of that and pepper it through so that people aren't just getting bored, people aren't just skipping through, and people are hearing this important perspective, what this person has to say. So there are a lot of things like that that don't really get thought about, I think, in terms of planning. But you have to look at, if you want to do a video essay or you want to do something like that, you have to start with the idea of like a narrative. And that doesn't mean exclusively that you are, okay, I start here and I start here and I need a climax and all this stuff. No, you just need some forward momentum. I think that's the key, is to figure out what is your thrust, what is the thing that you want to get people to keep watching. And it's not always going to look the same. Like, you know, the way I made my documentary in LA is entirely different. It's an entirely different pace from the way I made the documentary Going Undercover in the Hate Church, which is entirely different from the video I interviewed American McGee for, which was also kind of its own thing. Like, I don't know. I realize that was a very rambly answer, but I hope that helps a little bit. El Salve, thank you for $5. Benny Johnson is the same guy who banged with another man despite being married and was funded by the Russians despite being American first, right? That's the one. Yeah. Geochuck, Geoscience, 4300. So Jenna Taylor just said, I guess I'm an elitist when I said that saying trans people are too poor to get surgeries are invalid as an elitist. Man, I didn't know Jenna, and I kind of wish people would stop interacting with folks like that. Where can you find the video about the hate church? On my channel. Just go to YouTube and look up trans person hate church. Go to fucking Google. Watch this shit, by the way. Boom. Right there. CBN News, get the fuck out of here. Ooh. There we go. Yeah. First page. Ooh, they've moved me down over the years. But yeah, trans person infiltrates a hate church. Whap. There I am. 709,000 views. 709,000. Lil Epic Girl, thank you for another 5. Thanks so much. As a biology student, my perspective would be through that lens against the multi-million-dollar YECs behind this bad. And that's a valuable perspective. Like, that's being able to put as much of your, again, being able to put as much of your perspective in, I think, is the biggest thing I can recommend, is to don't try and emulate anybody else's style. Like, don't be afraid to try different things, but don't just go and be like, oh, I'm going to do what this person did. And Marilyn, thank you very much. Last for me, since 4chan turned out to be a psyop, was the spreading of anti-Semitism/racism there part of the plan, or was it always just an underlying American thing? Just a thought. I think it's just an underlying American thing. After doing so much looking into, I've done multiple videos where I looked into the history of racism and Nazism and white supremacy and conspiracy theories, and it's just there is always going to be, you know, it's the Sartre quote, or the Sartre quote, sorry, about like they would, if Hitler had not pointed out the Jew or called out Jewish people or whatever, they would have needed to invent one, right? Or if they whatever the Sartre quote is about Jews. If the Jew did not exist, the anti-Semite would invent him. That's what it was. Of course, I butchered it. Anyway, back to St. Clair. I want to get to I know so many people have asked about the RACCOON, the RFK Jr. RACCOON thing. We will get to that. Here you go. Here's a teaser. I'm not just baiting you. But let's get to this. St. Clair said she had alerted Johnson to inappropriate advances by former. That's fucking crazy. They didn't even. I just got flashbanged by Madison Cawthorn. Give me a second. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, let's watch this really. Well, no, I want to. There we go.
I had mentioned in my video that Benny Johnson, I had disclosed to him that I had experienced this behavior with Madison Cawthorn, and that Benny has continued to platform this awful human being. However, I'm not a consumer of Benny Johnson content because I value my IQ and I'm not one of his cerebral speed bump boomer followers. Unfortunately, I've watched his content in the last 24 hours because it's been sent to me. And before yesterday, I was unaware of the content that Benny Johnson had been putting out about me.
Look. I find it, we've talked about this with Lauren Southern in the past, and I do find it hard to be too empathetic to this. Partially because there's such a lack of reflection here, where they will get into this place where men will treat them like shit after telling you, hey, we hate women. We believe women are essentially subservient. We believe that we should have total dictation over the rights of women and the bodies of women and what they're able to do and how they're able to represent themselves and how they dress and how they vote. Like, that is the modern dictate of the conservative movement. And it's not a fucking surprise. So when you get past the trad wife bullshit and you get into this, oh, no, actually it's based 2-on-2, because she was the one who had sex with Elon. Or no, they probably didn't have sex because apparently Elon has a weird dick, but whatever. She was the one who wanted to get into this space. So to be like, yeah, all of these guys are predators. It's like I do feel bad. Nobody should be preyed upon. I hope nothing bad happened. I genuinely do. But the IQ playing shit, her being like, no, because I obviously have a higher IQ than anybody who'd listen to Benny Johnson. It's like, girl, you glass houses. Let's not throw too many stones when you're still inside the glass house.
On his show, including about my family and my children, and that I should lose my child, that I am not a sane parent, that I am a narcissist, making up lies about my finances and my family situation. So, Benny, I have been sitting on the receipts of you for far too long. You and your sociopathic behavior and the way you operate your businesses and your grift. So you want to go, Benny? You want to talk about my children and make this personal? Let's go. Because I have been sitting on this for far too long.
It's like, come on, man. What are we doing? Everybody in the conservative movement are constantly at each other's throats now. Did I miss the clavicular news? No. I don't want to watch the actual overdose on stream. We could. Nehemia, god damn, sorry, I have hiccups now. Nehemia, thank you for $5. She is apparently reformed/reforming. I'd like to mention she was on a bit fruity a few months ago. Really? Okay. I was unaware of this. I think Matt is savvy enough to at least know. I think Matt is probably like me in that Matt Bernstein is probably not afraid to just talk to somebody that disagrees with him. But that's interesting. I missed that. I'm so fucking pissed off. By the way, thanks to anybody, tangent time. Thanks to anybody who recommended Esoterica as a channel the other day. Because I watched like 3 hours of that. Well, I listened to like 3 hours of that this morning when I was doing my editing and such. And yeah, no, everybody was right. That is right up my fucking, that's right up my fucking alley. I know a lot about drugs he possibly OD'd on. I would enjoy that content, but also want to gossip. Curl it up too much. I get it. Yeah, like it's the oh shit. All right, sorry. Door just popped open. Give me a second. Hello, sorry. Um, I just had to go see. Koa was chilling in the room, and I just wanted to go say hi to her, make sure she was doing okay. Josh in the Woods, thank you for $5 while listening while I slog through my Hoswhopper refresher. Shout out to my fellow blue collars leftists. Well, congratulations. I have 4,000 questions. I was supposed to call DD, but it never happened. Oh yeah, we were supposed to talk about the whole thing. I'm sorry. I fucking, like I said, I had and there was also a thing I need to talk to Niara about it. Cause I had gotten some like tips and some like stuff sent my way about some VTubers. And I was gonna do like a whole kind of weird VTuber deep dive of just like, hey, why the fuck are so many VTubers so fucking weird? But I need to get back to it. I need to stop doing such big fucking videos that don't make return. The VTuber thing, I think that'll be one. I'll do that one, and I still need to do finish because I started in earnest doing a deep dive into the bizarre phenomenon of why so many femboys are Nazis. And that's the thing. Look, I got the other very dark secret about making content the way I do, chaotically, is that I have 1,000 things started that I never get past like a couple paragraphs, or that I just work on and off for months. Wait, you're the weird VTuber? No. Real NIFB parody, you're not close to the weirdest shit I've seen. Junie Taurus might be related to femboys and whiteness. So it's probably closer to the from what I've seen, it's probably closer to fascism inherently being kind of homoerotic. Like there is a homoerotic element to the subjugation that appeals to terminally online young gay men. Like that is kind of, if you want the summary when that video comes out, that's probably what it'll be. Spoilers, I guess. Is Leaflet one of those VTubers? I believe so. So the other problem, I get all the VTubers confused. They all look like, literally they all look the same to me. I think all right. So if you know who Leaflet is, if I'm thinking of the right person, does Leaflet stream with her mom? Because yes, if so. King Twink guy? I think I did, but I'm going to write that down. Yeah, actually, now that you're saying that, I think I remember that name. Extreme leather daddy types? No. Like, I think in a past, like, era, maybe more into the leather daddy shit, but nah. Yes. Daniel, yes. Then, yep, Leaflet is one of them.
I tell you about how the pay-to-play...
So, Ashley St. Clair was so deep in the right-wing media apparatus, she had a baby by Elon, but since they threw her under the bus, she's unspilling all their secrets, and it's very entertaining. This was just 2 days ago.
MAGA influence campaigns work. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair.
And I believe so here is one of the things. If you've ever wondered why Gunther Eagleman and Benny Johnson and a whole bunch of influencers, when there's a new, like, talking point from the administration, why do they all seem to really glom on real quick? Ashley has, I believe this video,
and I was involved in
has an
MAGA
explanation.
Politics and was a MAGA influencer for almost a decade. I know. Now, MAGA, and really MAGA, not so much just GOP messaging, is incredibly coordinated. And I was initiated into this very young, about 19 years old, when I was first brought on to Turning Point. That was when I was invited to my first Turning Point event and was really thrust into this MAGA influencer ecosystem. In 2015-2016, MAGA and their operators realized how important and consequential social media was for politics. This really started during the Obama years when they harnessed the internet and email campaign messaging, and then MAGA took it to the next level with things like Cambridge Analytica and coordinated messaging on sites like Twitter. Their main avenues for this influence are group chats, paid influence campaigns, and parties. Now, for the group chats, they operate with large influencers, particularly on Twitter. That is their primary mode of communication, is Twitter. And they will have these giant group chats that make influencers and individuals feel important because they are in group chats with members of the administration, people on the Trump team, in which they coordinate these messaging tactics. They also have coordinated calls with these campaigns and with these politicians, so you feel that you are important. What I really want to focus on, What I really want to focus on, though, is the paid campaigns, because this is able to fester through many loopholes within our own regulations and laws. Because since what they're promoting is messaging or petitions or campaigns and not a service or a product, they do not have to disclose that they are paid for this on social media. So they have these Republican operatives, some of which were former White House, who build out these platforms that these right-wing influencers can log onto and see active campaigns and sign up for and get paid for promoting certain messaging, certain initiatives, certain petitions. And this pay is typically, per click. Sometimes it's a flat rate, but it is everything from, hey, tell your audience to call their members of Congress and vote a particular way on this bill, or, have your followers sign this petition, promote this propaganda, XYZ. And the structure is indistinguishable from ad campaigns that you would do for a traditional company. So if you take, Tarte, for example, or a cosmetic brand or what have you, typically when they get influencers, they will also have a company copy or things that they should say, a script. And so do these right-wing influencers. They are given a script, they are paid, and they post it. And the only difference is that they do not have to disclose that it's an ad because of our current laws and regulations do not require them to do so, since it is not a good or a product.
Now, some of these consulting firms that pay for this stuff, they will show up on FEC records because, the campaign or the PAC or the candidate pays them. But once they pay this consulting firm, it's gone. There is no further disclosures required by the consulting firms or anything like that. So this is a good way for them to hide exactly who they're paying for messaging, because it just goes through these firms that do not require any additional reporting to the FEC. And again, they also have these group chats with members of the administration and high-up officials that, especially when a scandal or controversy breaks out, all of this messaging is coordinated. Hey, here's how we respond to the files. Here's how we respond to the war. Here is how we respond to everything. So there's this entire ecosystem of large influencers. All of the largest influencers that you have seen in the right wing, 99% of them are paid or compensated or having their back scratched in one way or another. And then this trickles down because the people under them, these smaller influencers, are not aware of this. So when they're looking to these larger accounts in response to controversies or messaging, what they're seeing is actually very coordinated and very sophisticated influence campaigns from the top. There is no free thinking here whatsoever. They are waiting to get marching orders and a direct deposit. This also works on a smaller scale for influence campaigns because there are private, very wealthy donors that will pay independent journalists to do certain projects or videos, and that never has to get reported to the FEC because it's between two private individuals, even though the messaging and the influence is for political purposes. This happened to me at one point when there were a lot of scandals going on with the airlines and immigration, which I unfortunately had a role in boosting that rhetoric. I had a very wealthy billionaire who reached out to me because he had personal beef with Southwest, so he wanted me to do a sting operation on Southwest to see if they were flying migrants around the country. I did not do that. To obfuscate things even more, there were
I don't even know, B. Parker, if this is yapping. It's just like it is. For people who don't understand it, for people who don't know, I think this is very valuable knowledge. Because this is like an internal understanding of how these spaces operate. And I think it is this valuable perspective, particularly because she's telling how these pieces interact with one another. She's not just saying, oh yeah, there's a group chat. Like, she is talking about how people will slide into DMs, how they use that to emotionally like control and make people feel important for being in the know and that kind of shit. No, I get it. Okay, I don't know how much she's turned around. Maybe it was just the IQ comment that threw me off, but she seems okay. The ability, it's super important right now in this. I said this about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but the ability to say, hey, I was wrong, hey, I was duped, and take that accountability is, I think that is a big step on the road to bettering oneself and moving past this shit.
Also, this happens between private companies as well. So some of the biggest private companies within the right, particularly the right-wing media, they will be reached out to by people who want particular messaging. I was aware of this several times in regards to Israel, where Republican companies, right-wing companies, private media companies were offered millions of dollars to promote pro-Israel messaging and just sprinkle in things. So they're also doing this very covertly when they're making these asks. They're saying, let's just sprinkle it in here and there for a larger scale, long-term influence campaign. And issues like this with money in politics really began around the 70s, late 70s. And there's a particular case that I've been fascinated by, which is Buckley v. Vallejo, and other subsequent precedents that basically solidify money as speech. And what you do, this happened like right on the heels of the civil rights era, right? And all of these individuals are now able to participate in democracy, at least on paper, in the same way as everyone else. Well, a lot of people, particularly very wealthy corporate men, were not happy about this. So they got right to work saying, well, we need to differentiate ourselves. And they basically complained to the courts and complained that corporations were basically political minorities and that they should be able to participate in politics and that money is speech. And our court affirmed this. The Supreme Court has affirmed many.
No, because people saying like, oh, she's just like, she might be more of a lib now, but this is the going into these court cases, going into and finding the reasons behind why shit is the way it is. Education at its core. That is how you change somebody from the right wing to somebody more progressive, is to teach them if they are, and I guess I have to take it on faith that she is coming to this stuff in goodwill, but I want to take it on faith. I want to believe in people being able to be better than they are. So I don't know. I hope she's doing better. Anyway, let's finally get to the New York Post today. RFK Jr. once chopped off a dead raccoon's penis to study later while on a family road trip. She still seems kind of bratty. I think that's just a demeanor thing. All in all, it's good. I think that's just a demeanor thing more than anything else. Wonder how many YouTube sponsorship scam companies operate as far-right soft power. Probably not as many as you think. Most of the ones I see, like most of the scam sponsorships that I've received in my inbox, seem like they come from like Eastern Europe or Asia. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Oh, yeah, by the way, studying is an interesting euphemism. Yeah. RFK Jr., it doesn't get brought up enough. It's one of the problems with like the kind of SNLification of so much of the discourse in this administration and so much of the insulting and the kind of aesthetic attacking that people do on, Trump and Miller, and wow, they're all such weird little freaks, and they all, like, none of them can talk weird or interact like normal humans, and they're all sociopaths. But RFK Jr., people forget what a sick fuck scumbag shithead he is. Like, he is a horror show of a fucking human being. We've talked about it on stream. We've talked about his ex-wife who killed herself after he basically abused her to death. We've talked about his just wild philandering. We've talked about the fact that he used to keep a detailed notebook of the people he slept with a grading system. Oh, he put out a secret RFK Jr. diaries, reportedly reveal battles with lust demons. Fuck off. Even ranked every single one of his sexual encounters on a scale of 1 to 10. Why is this in a secret journal? RFK Jr. records a painful struggle. Oh, okay, so this was 2013. Yeah, this is the one I wanted. Marilyn, thank you very much for the 69. Well, Bad Dragon now has a new toy named the Bobby Jr. Okay, I will stop now. That's horrible. 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 Oh, that's vile. Yeah, so let's talk about this real quick. Once pulled the family sedan. So, okay. We talked about things they teach you in journalism school, right? A little bit earlier. One of the things we didn't talk about was this thing called burying the lead, LEDE. And that is a term in journalism, in writing, you'll hear where somebody, if you ever, get into blogging, if you ever get into writing and you have an editor, they'll tell you don't bury the lead. And the lead is the hook for the story. You do not want to give something in the headline, tease it, and then not give somebody a little bit more to keep going on to get to the meat. But this is like a sidelining of the lead, because the way it's phrased while on a family road trip summons to mind, considering he's a Kennedy, like I'm sure they had plenty of idyllic, sunny family sedan, like National Lampoon vacation type shit with the, the fucking road wagon. The fact that it opens with, and does not bury the lead, that it opens with the fact that he was the one driving is so... It hit me like a truck. I'll say that. It hit me like a fucking truck. Avid animal genitalia researcher in his spare time once pulled the family sedan to the side of the road after spying a dead raccoon and swiftly cut off its sex organs so he could, quote, study them later. The bizarre account by the nation's top civilian health official was unearthed in the new book, RFK Jr., The Fall and Rise, authored by the Post's own Isabel Vincent, who drew upon a wide range of sources, including private journals he penned while living in New York City between 1999 and 2001. Quote, I was standing in front of my parked car on I-864, cutting the penis out of a road-killed raccoon, thinking about how weird some of my family members have turned out to be. Thinking about how weird just the kind of brain it takes to do something that bizarre and to be like, yeah, some of my family are real freaks. Reads a surreal passage in which the Health and Human Services head, 72, was reportedly lamenting his rocky relationships with his brother Douglas Kennedy and cousin Bobby Shriver. Quote, my kids waited patiently in the car, he noted, later telling People magazine he collected the raccoon's genitals so he could, quote, study them later. The eccentric Kennedy scion's bizarre recollection adds to the laundry list of grisly encounters with animal parts he's had over the years. His daughter recalled in the 2012 interview that her father's fascination with animal viscera once put a smelly damper on a childhood family vacation to Hyannisport, Massachusetts. Upon learning a whale carcass had washed ashore on nearby Squaw Island, the elder Kennedy made a beeline for the beach and proceeded to... I hadn't heard about the fucking whale. What? What? He decapitated the whale with a chainsaw? He then strapped the whale's enormous noggin to the roof of the family minivan with a bungee cord, intending once again to bring it home to study, grossing out the family in his dogged pursuit of knowledge. That's not... It's not knowledge, right? Like, unless you are actively studying the biology of a whale, the anatomy of a whale, you gain nothing by just digging through carrion. I need people to understand this. You are not going to revolutionize the study of anatomy from first principles. You're not. Like, there is nothing that you, as a person who chops a whale's head off with a chainsaw, there is nothing that you are going to do that a qualified scientist has not already learned about that whale. Like, it's just... somebody, Marmot King, it's knowledge of what you shouldn't do with rotten whale. You don't fucking cut into a rotten whale, dude. Into any beached whale. no, it is. It's a sick fetish. Is the only way I can put it. Like, it is just this like, oh yeah, I'm gonna study it. It's like, are you? The only thing, it's not like he has a specific fixation either. That's the incredibly telling part. It's not like he's like, oh, I collect bird skeletons, or I collect bugs and I pin them up. Like, it's not something where he has a specific fondness or a specific respect or want to learn about a specific animal. It is all of these cases of the dead fucking baby bear, of the raccoon, of the whale, of the other insane shit he's done, the dogs and like whatever else he's mutilated. That's all that unites those things, is mutilating these fucking carcasses. Like, Isn't a rotten whale carcass toxic? Well, if it doesn't have any opening, the fumes from whales, especially if they're beached, can, well, out at sea too. Let me see if I can find. Several cases of natural or intentional explosion of whale carcasses. It's because they're so fucking big in their stomachs and they have so much acid and stuff in there that, especially when they get out in the hot sun, they talk about this shit in Moby Dick, by the way. Which, another reason why, whaling is so fascinating to me. Lady Ash, thank you for $5. Why do I feel this is an opening to an Aqua Teen Hunger Force? Gentlemen, behold my rotting whale head! Oh, that one hurt. Hey, no fry man. You take that whale head back to wherever it came from, or I'll put my foot up your ass. Every time we accelerated on the hot... It is a scathing indictment of the just... America's latent fixation with political dynasties are just people's want to be subjugated, that the entire Kennedy dynasty has not been thrown out on their ass out in the fucking streets for being the weirdest little freaks. Quote, every time we accelerated on the highway, whale juice would pour into the windows of the car, and it was the rankest thing on the planet. Violet left, thank you for 8 months. I haven't seen the story yet. I'm so scared. Oh. We all had plastic bags over our heads with mouth holes cut out. Why is this shit not more public? How? I don't understand how I did not fucking know about the whale thing. This is insane. This is the dude in charge of health. Ooh, this is the HHS secretary. 2024, while briefly running for president, Kennedy admitted to The New Yorker that a decade earlier he had dumped a dead bear cub in Central Park after a botched attempt to skin it. Kennedy admitted in a video on social media that he and some buddies had been drinking when they ditched the cub's body to try and make it look like he got hit by a bike. He claimed he found the killed cub on a falconing trip in Goshen, New York. Last year, after Trump nominated Kennedy to lead HHS, his cousin Caroline claimed in a letter to lawmakers that while in college, he put chicks and mice in a blender to feed his hawks, calling his dorm room a, quote, perverse scene of despair and violence. So far, the results of Kennedy's rigorous whale head and raccoon penis studies have not been publicly disclosed. A little bit of gallows humor, but like, You don't need to do that for hawks, by the way. Again, it's this stuff that's like, well, no, I do it to feed my. No, you don't need to do that. If you have hawks, which I've heard before that he was way into fucking falconry and shit as a kid, because you know how you grow up insanely rich enough to be into falconry. But falcons are natural predators. Like you also, I believe, I imagine that unless there's some need for the prey to be alive, you would probably feed falcons like frozen mice, the same way you do with frozen or thawed, the same way you do with reptiles like snakes and shit. Like that is a thing. It's not the mice and the, what was it, birds or whatever the fuck, chicks and mice. It's the fact that like there's no need to put small animals in a fucking blender. You are a sick fuck. God. It's even more frustrating to me that for so long, shit like this was depicted as, oh no, he loves animals. Like for years, it was like, oh yeah, no, he just has a really good relationship with animals. Yeah, no, he's just always been really connected to nature and shit. No, he's a fucking psychopath, dude. Ugh. And R. Kaylee, thank you for 3 months. Isn't mutilating animals a sign of a serial killer? This dude's such a freak. I think that is, I think that's overblown as like, you know, diagnostic criteria or anything. That's very much pop psychology type stuff, but it has been noted that it's one of those causation correlation things. That being said, serial killers have done it, so you know. Nehemiah, thank you for 7 months. Want to remind everyone the least important tidbit in this article. He named his daughter Kick. I'm sorry, what? I'm gonna be real. I completely his daughter Kick Kennedy. Fucking what? Lady, hello. Oh, hello, my dog. Hello. Do you want to come say hi? Do you want to come say hi? Yeah. Come here. There's my baby. Yeah. God, man. That's fucking bleak, dude. His other daughter, Rumble. That's funny. That's funny. Ooh. Yes, the Behind the Bastard episode, I believe, does cover the falconry stuff. Just because I can picture Robert Evans, I can hear Robert Evans saying falconry in his very Robert Evans way of saying things. RFK Jr. learned about. Oh, hello, dog. Oh. That is so fucking vile. All right, chat. Let's go to. Was this stuff before or after the worm in his brain? Most of this, I believe, was before. Hello. Hello. God, my fucking feed is just a goddamn nightmare, dude. Women have gone insane. Great, yeah. I was just thinking about, damn. It's been nice not having to hear Asmongold's stupid ass talk about anything. Whew, that's been fun. Montana Supreme Court blocks policy barring trans people from updating identity documents. Look, we'll take any dub we can. We'll take any dub we can. Helena. Earlier today, Montana Supreme Court upheld a district court order temporarily preventing the state from enforcing policies that bar transgender people from obtaining accurate sex designations on their birth certificates and driver's licenses. This means that trans Montanans will continue to have access to accurate and usable identity documents while the case proceeds. In December 2024, the district court granted plaintiffs' request to block the state from enforcing its discriminatory policies, finding that the policies likely violate their, quote, fundamental right to be free from discrimination on the basis of sex under the Montana Constitution. Oh, yeah, we need to talk about the fucking clavicular thing. No, I don't want to clavicular live. This is bad. Is it? How is Clavicular back home? Like, here's the other thing I don't fucking understand. I understand he's like Peter Thiel's bizarre groomed guinea pig. Why isn't this dipshit in prison? Like, all he does is live stream himself publicly endangering other people and taking illegal substances at near lethal levels. Like, fucking put his ass in jail. What the fuck? All right. Let's talk about the Montana Supreme Court thing. Quote, this is a good day not just for trans individuals, but for all Montanans. Akila Dearnose, executive director of the ACLU of Montana, said, our Constitution exists to protect all of us from government overreach, and we are pleased that the Montana Supreme Court faithfully interpreted our Equal Protection Clause to protect against unlawful discrimination. Following this ruling, the case will now return to the district court where plaintiffs might fight to obtain a final decision on the merits. Until that final decision, trans Montanans can continue to obtain a birth certificate and driver's license that accurately reflects their identity. This is good. Like, so good because of the possible precedent that it's setting. I'm very happy and excited for that. Oh, yeah. Fucking Dave Chappelle trying to be woke again. I have a hard time really caring about this shit. Dave Chappelle is somebody who is so... You reach a certain level of fame and influence that at a certain point you are disconnected from reality. Like the reality that everybody else lives in. So to you, saying things that are hurtful to trans people that are used to be weaponized against queer people might just be an edgy joke, but you're unable to read the fucking room. That's what Chappelle has been doing for years, and I think it's just now starting to sink in that, no, people are using him as a culture war touchstone. Fuck off, variety. Called out Republicans in a new interview with NPR, accusing members of the political party of weaponizing trans jokes. Comedian has courted controversy since 2021 after his Netflix special included jokes that were widely criticized as transphobic. Netflix boss Ted Sarandos defended the special by citing artistic freedom, prompting trans employees and allies at the company to walk out and protest. The comedian has then doubled down on trans jokes in his follow-up special, The Dreamer. I did resent that, quote, I did resent that the Republican Party ran on trans jokes. You know, I felt like they were doing a weaponized version of what I was doing. That's not what I was doing. Chappelle told NPR's Newsmakers host, Michelle Martin. I'll give you an example. Before I learned the phrase, I respectfully decline, I was on Capitol Hill and everybody ran up to take pictures with me from every congressional office. And I just take pictures with whoever asked. I didn't ask how they vote or what their voting record was. At first, it was CBC people, he continued. Then here comes Lauren Boebert. She said, can I get a picture? I had already taken 40. I didn't want to say no in front of everybody, but I didn't know the phrase, I respectfully decline. So I just took the picture. Then she posted the picture before I could even get from there to the show and says something to the effect of just two people that know that it's just two genders, just instantly like weaponized or politicized. So I got to the arena and I lit her ass up for doing that, and she should never do that to a person like me. Oh. Miss is yelling at me. All right, I'm going to go feed Cat real quick, then I'll be right back to it. Oh, I'm going to make pasta again sometime this week. um, crux of his argument by saying, I'm not even mad people take issue with my work. Good, fine, who cares? What I take issue with is the idea that because they don't like it, I'm not allowed to say it. Art is a nuanced endeavor. I have a belief that they are trying to take the nuance out of speech in American culture, that they're making people speak as if they're either on the right or left. Everything seemed absolute, and any opinion I respect is way more nuanced than these binary choices they keep putting in front of us. I don't see the world in red or blue. I don't have any other real commentary to give on this. I'm gonna be real. This is somebody who is so privileged that they don't see the physical realities of what it does for a massive celebrity to identify with these platforms, to identify with like legitimate hate movements and shit. My Y bowl empty. Cat hungry. Cat's always hungry. She'll be fine. Speaking of another person just not understanding the consequences of their fucking actions. Caitlyn Jenner tells right-wing podcast she's a hypocrite to accept Woman of the Year award. Jenner also revealed she lost her F marker on her U.S. passport and has appealed for help to President Trump. Tomi Lahren, Jesus Christ, invited Caitlyn Jenner to appear on her Outkick podcast. Tomi Lahren is fearless. There's a fucking person I haven't thought about in a minute. Oh, man. Trump. Genetically, I'm still XY. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm fine with that. I'm just glad that I can wake up in the morning and just be myself. Glamour named Jenner Woman of the Year. She posed with then 18-year-old daughter Kylie Jenner when she accepted the honor. In 2020, told this reporter she was all for trans inclusion, then flip-flopped in 2021 as part of her failed bid to get elected governor of California. Gee, I completely fucking forgot that. Her position on women's sports was at odds with her identity as a biological man, despite telling Loren in that same interview, biologically I'm female. I started thinking what a hypocrite I am, trying to keep biological men out of women's sports, but I'm a biological man. They gave me Glamour's Woman of the Year award. She posted it on social media in 2024. She returned the award. Fucking coward, dude. Like just having no self-respect. Also, that's fucking crazy, dude. In the big 2-6 being like, Jenner also spent a lot of time on the podcast talking about how much she loves Donald Trump, noting she has his personal cell number and that he and Melania have personally called her. She voted for Trump in 2016 and 2024. Revealed that a recent visit to Mar-a-Lago, she wrote a letter to the president asking for his personal help with a problem plaguing many trans Americans, the loss of their authentic gender marker on their identification. Now we're going too far to the right, with gender markers. That was the first thing they did. That was the first thing. That was the first thing on the fucking agenda was like, we're going to legally recognize only two genders. Like, that was literally the first note on the box was that they were going to fuck with your gender markers, dog. What are you talking about? They're going too far to the right. There was one other headline-grabbing quote from Jenner's conversation with Loren and answers a question many have wondered. Does the former reality star have any clue as to the extent of damage her personal brand of activism has done to the trans movement? She admitted her coming out may have ultimately hurt, not helped. Quote, we went so far to... Oh, great. We're doing the fucking... by the way, Briana Woo has been on a fucking tear lately, so I want to look into that. But doing the same type of shit as this. Went so far to the left on this issue for the last 30 years, and unfortunately, I just don't think it helped at all. When I came out in 2015, I brought this issue forward, but I had nothing but good in my heart. I thought this is a very marginalized group of people, and I've been dealing with these issues since I was a little kid. Maybe I can make a difference. But unfortunately, the left kind of took my issue. My issue, she said. Whoa. I like the advocate's writing style here. What of the 2.8 million American people targeted at this very moment by more than 600 pieces of state and federal legislation, at least 22 of which have already been enacted, creating a registry of trans people, stripping trans kids of gender-affirming care, banning athletes from equal participation in sports. The only other issue Jenner told Lauren about, where America is going too far to the right, is trans bathroom bans, lamenting the dilemma trans men face if they are forced to use a women's bathroom and what trans women will encounter if they are forced to use men's. I have so many of my friends who are just, gorgeous women. Trying to force these people into the men's room is just not right and it's not safe. No shit. Out attempted to contact Jenner for comment, but her representatives did not respond before publication. What a fucking cunt. What is this? Pentagon forced out a trans army major. Documentary Fighting to Serve follows Major Erica Vandal's challenge to the trans military ban and the personal toll of her discharge. Pentagon forced out a trans army major. Now her story is Emmy nominated. Interesting. Available on YouTube. Interesting. Yeah. So if you don't know, Rev Woofies, have I missed out? Yes. RFK Jr. cut a penis off of a dead raccoon. Rav Woofies. That's we just got done talking about it like probably 10, 15 minutes ago. Yvonne Alvarez, of course, thank you for stopping by. Hope you have a good walkie with the dogs. So, Briana Woo, if you haven't watched my video on Briana Woo, just go. If you don't know who she is, that's the best primer I can recommend. Maybe the crowning achievement of my deep dive work that I've done to these execrable internet personalities that I cover. Now, Briana is nothing if not ignorant of other people's ideas, how they feel, why they think the way they do. And we talked a little bit about Jenna, I forget her name, but there's been a recent kind of trans kerfuffle in the Twitter trans spaces because another person has started following down the same road. Many people saw someone like Hendrix going down. And as anything disrupting the trans community, Briana Woo's fingerprints have been all over the fucking thing. Speaking of which, by the way, if you or anybody you know is a trans person on Twitter or on Blue Sky who has been contacted by Briana Woo, I want you to reach out to me, whether that's on Twitter, whether that's on DMs, anywhere. Because I know that currently, and I have this confirmed from other people, but I want more corroborative reports. I know that Briana has started making groups to essentially groom young trans women, to essentially bring them over to her side, to her way of thinking, which is like just disgusting. Just that, like, oh, you can only be a real trans person if you're doing this. Jenna Taylor, yes, thank you, Geoduck Geoscience. Yeah, Imperial Gamer VDM. Now, I want you to also, she is, the thing, her way of thinking is an oxymoron. Very good. Good one. So, Briana is very, it's not, I think, too much of a coincidence that she has been in a lot of the similar spaces as Destiny. And I think they're, you know, I think they're equally aware of how toxic each other is as a brand, so I don't expect them to ever really, you know, collab again soon. But one thing they share in their advocacy for like liberalism and why America is so great and all this bullshit is a really strange early 2000s racism against particularly Muslims. The Islamophobia, they are like legitimately always two steps away from being Alex Jones levels of accusing Muslims of worshiping a moon god and wanting to take over the planet. Like that is, she basically holds to the idea. By the way, she completely, still steadfastly defends the Palestinian genocide and blames it almost entirely on the Palestinians. The fucking disgusting cretin. That being said, I wanted to go into some of the other shit she'd been saying, but this particularly was one of the funniest moments lately, where she's watching Homeland, apparently, and Homeland is a show about American intelligence operations, much like shows like Jack Ryan that are put out by Amazon. We have known for decades that shows like this are legitimately made in cooperation and often because of American intelligence agencies. It is literally government-backed propaganda. They have oversight advisors that will talk to these companies, that will work their scripts, that will make sure that everything looks as cool as possible and helps to subliminally reinforce ideas, right? And I think the best thing you can know about Briana Woo is something like this, where she is watching a CIA-backed show like Homeland. And her takeaway is, wow, this was so prophetic. Here's a scene of Peter Quinn briefing Congress on what the Islamist jihadist mindset is like and how utterly ineffective the American NatSec strategy is for containing it.
You do.
This is, by the way, this is like the that one newsroom, embarrassing, cringe newsroom clip that goes around about how when they got Osama bin Laden, or that other cringe-ass clip of Jeff Daniels talking on stage about how America used to do this and we're not the first in this, and we're not, like, it's giving that. It is giving only being able to understand your own ideology that's been given to you by somebody else through the frame of a film or of a screen. You fucking, this shit is, I hadn't watched the whole thing. This shit is crazy. Like, literally being like, yeah, no, you could not write more fucking blatant propaganda, dude, than these shows. Like, we can't fight against them. Their holy book is so evil and powerful that they're always reading it about beheading people. Tell me about Infidels, dog. Is this a Sorkin production? I wouldn't be fucking surprised. Let me see. Yeah, Homeland. I don't give a fuck about that. Based on... Oh, dog, fucking of course it is, man. Based on the Israeli series Prisoners of War. Who serves as the executive producer, stars as a CIA officer, convinced that a decorated Marine Corps sniper was turned by Al-Qaeda. Oh, man. I can't fucking believe a CIA remake of an Israeli show, and she's like, yeah, damn, this is just like real life. Including 2011 and 2012, man, yeah, that's a fucking time for that shit. Developed by no Sorkin on here to speak of. There were 8 seasons of this dog shit. Oh my god, dude. All right, development history. The two, yeah, no, similarly themed series 24, yeah. Like, what other bullshit can we? What other ultra nationalist, just jingoistic bullshit could we do? Nehemiah, thank you very much for $10. I want to bring up the Palestine Laboratory by Anthony Lowenstein. It's about how Israel uses Palestine's testing ground for military and surveillance tech, then exports it to authoritarians, including the U.S. Palestine Laboratory. I'm putting that on my list. That's fucking crazy. Woof. Here we go. Pass to FX before landing at Showtime. Claire Danes. He also stated he would be his desire to film the final season in Israel. Great. Yeah, no shit. Here we go. Writers, producers, and actors would meet with former CIA ambassadors, ex-military, journalists, and intelligence officers to discuss national security issues to inform the storylines. Like, literally Mossad-type propaganda. Crazy, dude. Controversies. Lebanese government was reportedly planning to sue the show's producers, asserting misrepresentation of Hamas Street in Beirut. God. In the second episode, the street was shown as a narrow alleyway with militia roaming and associated with terrorist activity. The Lebanese government said the street is actually a bustling modern hub of cafes and bars. Minister of Tourism Fadi Aboud said he would take legal action. Yeah, no. Raf's works have received criticism for their portrayal of Muslims. Huh. Drossvids, what's Briana Woo with Israel? I don't fucking know. I legitimately do not understand why she's a Jewaboo. Like that's what she is. I don't know why she has such a steadfast, immovable fixation with it. It's not just Israel. It is the idea of like Israeli culture. Like the idea of like, oh yeah, no, Israeli food. The other day, she has lost her fucking mind. Doubling and tripling and quadrupling and just continually going to the map for Israel. To the point where she talked about the other day being like, oh yeah, Israeli couscous is so good. And people were like, dog, Israel didn't fucking invent couscous. And she's like, no, I'm specifically eating Israeli couscous. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Called the most Islamophobic show on television, accused it of portraying Muslims under the light of simplistic concepts and as a monolithic, single-minded group whose only purpose is to hurt Americans, basing the Brody character to such an extent on pseudo-psychology that only an audience conditioned by the Islamophobic, anti-Arab tropes in our media could find him consistent. Oh, yeah. Function shows having enough emotional. Oh yeah, dude, sure. In a 2014 report, human rights group Amnesty International claimed the shows like Homeland have glorified torture, to a generation, which is true. Ha! That's great. October 2015, 3 graffiti artists hired to add graffiti writings to the set of The Tradition of Hospitality, an episode in Season 5, intended to portray a refugee camp on the Lebanon-Syria border. To add authenticity to the scenes, wrote instead slogans accusing the show of racism. Pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, that's the show that Briana Woo is like, oh, this was so prophetic. Santa Grell's Ziobu. Ziobu is better. Ziobu is better. Mirror XR, thank you for 5. It's as if the agencies backing these movies / shows are manufacturing consent by showing slightly less brutal approaches to foreign policy as inept. Yeah. No, it is We a Jew. Nathan Yu, We a Jew is pretty good too. It is the exact same thing. Is she even culturally Jewish? No, she's adopted. It's Ziobu is a better way to do it because, like Nehemiah says, it is better to not conflate Jewishness and Israel. Even though I think like that is something Briana does all the fucking time. From her family? No, she Like, not ethnically, not religiously. She had no background in it. Like, in the early aughts, I believe her family was more Christian conservative because she had a lot of, from my memory of doing research into her background and shit, she did have writings online in places where she would talk shit about conservatives as, like, hating queer people and hating trans people when she was first coming out. I don't get it. It's one of the more fascinating things, because after I was done with the piece on Briana, like everything else, I jettisoned it, started working on other projects. And since then, it's just been like watching this descent into madness. Like, even from her trip over to Israel, where she was basically taken on a guided tour and given the whole, given the influencer special trip, basically. Merrick Star, thank you for another 5. It's as if oh yeah, sorry, I just read that. Yeah, no, it is, stuff like this, when people call it propaganda, it is literally to put in your mind ideas about what these places look like, what the people from them act like. Lines like this are written with the intent to, when you think of the Quran, when you hear somebody say, praise be his name, when you hear somebody say something in Arabic, your first thought as a white American will be like, oh my gosh, I hope they don't kill us next. Like, that is what this shit is. This is fear-mongering at the most basic level, and it cannot be overstated how effective it is. Xenagros. Oh, wait, no, I'm scrolling. All right, doy. That's why I'm... Here we go. Hey, Chance, we talked about the warehouse burnings last stream a little bit. Oh no, yeah, Nehemiah, if her adopted family is Jewish, I wouldn't care. I just don't think that it is. I think it is just this bizarre, and it's also hard to tell how much of it is just constructed whole cloth, how much of it's just fucking bullshit that she's making up. Yeah, why are people, if they're going to claim a special relationship with authority as a state with respect to Jewish identity? Okay, well, that's an oversimplification, because being Jewish it can be both a religion and a nationalism. Like, the problem isn't that somebody is ethnically Jewish or even religiously Jewish. The problem is that people use that to reinforce a genocidal state, a ethno-nationalist project. Like, if somebody wants to worship Yahweh, I don't care. That's fine. All the feelings. Good God, I don't care. Oh, rough. Yeah, no shit. An Israeli drama about an IDF soldier. I wonder why. Okay, I don't care about Briana Woo's drama in her life. I wanted the Homeland thing was mostly what I wanted to go with. Nehemiah, I have never met anyone who seriously believes anyone with Jewish blood is less than. Ella Aris, dog, I've met so many of them. I've met those people in person. I've recorded it on camera. Like, I guarantee you, they're out there. Clav is so washed. I think he would have to be clean to be washed at some point. There we go. All right, chat. Let's talk about Clav and why this is so bad. Trap more roses. I don't see. Again, we're getting into drama territory. Shit, where I don't. I'm going sober, dude. Fuck off. Whatever. How I overdosed 20, like, here's the disconnect for me with Clav, where I'm like, this is everything about this. Everything about Clavicular feels so fake and astroturfed. Every aspect of his identity is completely fucking hollow, right? Like, he doesn't believe in anything. He believes in offending people and causing a ruckus and being a general nuisance. That's it. To get more attention. That is the bottom line. He's made that abundantly clear. But the fact that he is getting profiles, interviews on 60 Minutes, the fact that every week there's a new fucking New York Times piece, or he's on fucking Piers Morgan, or like I said, he just had that 60 Minutes profile and he's causing some kind of stir. He's walking out because he's a petulant child. And this is somebody, again, this is not like a Nick Fuentes figure, where Nick Fuentes has his whole stupid little basement dweller political movement, right? This is not a artist who is well known. This isn't a Kanye West who has this big history and is suddenly going off the deep end. This isn't a dipshit documentarian like Nick Shirley, who is causing a bunch of controversy and people are using the things he's saying to astroturf hate movements. This is somebody who has contributed nothing to culture. This is somebody who has contributed nothing to content. He's not funny. He's not a comedian. He's not smart. He's not educated. He's not suave. He's not a pickup artist. He is nothing. He is, if empty calories could be a human being, he is a 20-year-old walking around with a pharmaceutical overdose waiting to fucking happen at all times of the day. And I know, I said this earlier on Twitter. I know for a fact that if Clavicular wasn't a white, mid-young dude, nobody would give a fuck. Nobody would care. They wouldn't. That here's this nobody from Nobody Cares, who's done nothing, who contributes nothing, who is nothing functionally. He is barely a fucking functional person. If you listen to him talk for more than 5 minutes, he is basically a walking vegetable. I've had people be like, oh no, Clev knows what he's doing, and Clev is like, he's like playing the system. No, he doesn't. This is a complete dipshit airhead who's probably fried a good portion of his brain already. That's obvious to anybody who is familiar, who has seen people do drugs like this. You show footage of Clavicular to any formerly strung out recovering rock star, anybody who's gone through recovery, they'll be like, oh no, he's fucking gone. That's Clavicular. And if he was not white, nobody would have... The thing that really bugs me is the amount of empathy he gets. The amount of, oh, poor baby. Oh, like the amount of like, oh, this poor kid is going to wind up dead if nobody does anything. This is a failing of the internet. Can we really think that we're doing, like, the internet is good when people treat people like this, and it's so, oh, you shouldn't make fun. If that were a black person, if that was a young Hispanic man, they wouldn't be treating this 20-year-old fucking adult ass man Like a teeny little baby who can't make any decisions on his own. Like, they wouldn't. It is this infantilization of the modern white guy where you have to fucking handle them with kid gloves. And I hate it so fucking much. Like, he is a reprehensible human being. He is a piece of shit, racist, sexist. He is a idiot. He offers nothing to society. And the way in which people have acted with such an outpouring of worry and consternation. Like, no, you don't actually care about these people. People like this. You don't care about addicts. You don't. If you did, it wouldn't take some puppy dog-eyed white boy to get you to give a fuck. Yeah, Junie the Charis. I cannot feel anything for this person. Like, genuinely. Hello, cat. Oh my god. Cat, come on, dude. Can I? She's just knocking my headphones off. Andromeda, I don't want to see a kid die in front of us. Yeah. Like, I don't either. But to act like, okay, if we aren't going to do anything about it, like fucking what? He won't last till 25 if he keeps going at this pace. Like, dude, if you haven't seen the video, I'm not going to show it on screen because it is distressing if you've ever been around somebody overdosing. It's fucked up. It's fucked up to watch. And you slowly, like, he was with that other dipshit, the toupee-wearing asshole, androgenic. There's another one of these growth hormone swole dickheads. And androgenic, like, this 20-year-old is in a bar, which, I don't understand how they're always fucking filming just blatant crimes, dog. Like, their kick channel is just them going to bars, hitting on underage people, being underage in bars. Like, whatever. Fucking arrest them. Fucking throw these people out of the public eye. Re-educate them. Make them better members of society. I can't be bothered to give a fuck about a rich white kid who's going to kill himself because he's never had an internal monologue. Like, I have more important shit to throw my empathy at. I really fucking do. Hello, cat. Oh my god, cat. Why? You are being... Okay, cat. Look here. Do you have something you want to say? Lady, leave your sister alone. 3 minutes. Thank you very much, Oxpecker, for 100 biddies. So this is a leap, but do you think a part of Teal's astroturfing him and making him popular with young men has to do with his meth use because the Nazis and all? Nah. I think Peter Thiel is a weird fucking fetishist who wants to if he hasn't already fucked Clavicular. Like, I think Peter Thiel is a vampire and trying to assign a like evil, a vampire beyond a vampire. Like, if there was a evil that vampires feared, that would be Peter Thiel. I think trying to assign regular any kind of motivations to people like him or Sam Altman or Elon Musk, like, you need to understand they don't work in our concept of reality or in our concept of morality, right? Like, they literally believe that they are superior, that they see the world in a different way, that they know best, that type of shit. So I would say, like, probably not. It's probably less Nazi-ish and more just Peter Thiel being a weird fucking pervert. Yeah, Ella Eris, I think it's probably closer to that. Thiel trying to make an entire generation of boys into his type. Like, it's probably something closer to that. But yeah, anyway, I've talked already more than I wanted to about Clavicular. So I might. Ooh, we do gotta watch the Godzilla -1 trailer though. We're gonna pop that on as a little palate cleanser. White youths refuse to let Clav lose relevancy. Well, and it's on it. Okay, so here's the annoying part. This Clavicular is part of a let's call it a rich tapestry of total dipshit influencers right now, particularly streamers, and it's not just white people in that contingent. By the way, like I think Clavicular has gotten more mainstream attention because he's white, but you have people like Ray whoever that kid is. You have people like the Burnt Peanut, who I kind of assume is white just based on everything else. Do I know about goth culture? Yeah. G Papa Joe, Hideki Anno didn't make Godzilla -1. That was Yamazaki. I was gonna fucking bother me. Yeah, Yamazaki. Takashi Yamazaki. Yeah, I had it right. I don't know why I doubted myself. It's right there on the fucking screen. God, I'm a goddamn idiot. I'm sitting here like, God. No, yeah. Hideki Anno did Shin Godzilla, and then Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider. Which, by the way, if you haven't seen that, they're both those both fucking whip. I was so lucky to be able to catch all three of those in theaters. Do you know Goth? What's your favorite Cure song? Burn from the Crow soundtrack. Do you know the Muffin Man? Vice Rhino, thank you for following. Duct Tape Jake, thank you for following. Vice Rhino, thank you for rating with a party of 14. Hello. What does Shin mean? God, I believe? Demon? It's one of those things. Shin means true. Yes, that's what it was. Yenzo628. Wasn't there a Japanese director who was kidnapped by North Korea just to make a Godzilla movie for their new director? There is a you're thinking of Pulgasari, I believe. It was a kaiju movie. I think Pulgasari is the one I'm thinking of. Is Pulgasari, or was it Yongari? No, it's Pulgasari. I always get Yongari and Pulgasari mixed up. Yes, this was the. I believe it was Pulgasari. Co-production between North Korea, Japan, and China. Supposedly a remake of Bulgasari. Were kidnapped in 1978 by agents of Kim Jong-il and held captive in North Korea. Put forward in February 1985 to capitalize on the success of Return of Godzilla from 1984. It became Shin's last film made under Kim Jong-il's orders. Interesting. Yongari is south. Yep. It's always, because there are always a couple. There's Yongari, Pulgasari, Gorgo. I think those are the three big Daimajin. Well, Daimajin's Japanese still. Because Daimajin was Dai, I believe. But it was still a Japanese tokusatsu at the time. If if people didn't know that I'm down with fucking kaiju movies and shit, I guess now you do.
If their operation fails, maybe we'll finally get to use it.
Abort third drop. Repeat. Abort third drop.
God damn. I already just did it, but man, the score. I know I've been pausing it. It's only a 40-second teaser. The score of fucking -1 is it's just a thing of beauty. Oh, it's so fucking good. Thank you for $5 in Nehemia. I wrote some stuff in Discord because I need people to understand some things about anti-Semitism and Judaism. Ari, what we're discussing a few minutes ago. DD, if you could please read it. Let me find. Was it just in the general channel? Okay, no, there you are. All right, here we go. DD to read on stream because we're talking about anti-Semitism. Need people to be aware of something. There are 3 Israels. There's the land of Israel, just a culturally specific term for the land of Palestine, the people of Israel, the Jews, regardless of where we are, and the nation of Israel, which claims to represent both. The state of Israel claims both the land and the people, but the people is based on both bloodlines and practice. While the people of Israel constitutes a nation in an archaic sense, there is nothing that ties us exclusively to the land and thereby the state. Judaism is a ethno-religion. As such, it's part heritage and part practice. Anti-Semitism has always attacked us based on our practices, both real and perceived. No, you're good, Nehemia. You do a good job of summing up why this stuff is so important. Because I don't want to let. I feel like most people get it when I talk about separating Zionism and Judaism. But I don't want to let people get by thinking that equating the two or being like, well, as long as Israel's going to be a genocidal state, I'm going to be anti-Semitic. I don't want people to fucking skate by thinking that shit's okay. State of Israel. There we go. In the 1800s, however, many Jews were tired of the hatred and started assimilating into Western culture in order to find safety by losing our customs, outfits, languages, and culture as a whole. This is when anti-Semitism began to go after our bloodlines instead of how we look/behave. It is from the modern anti-Semitism that Nazism emerged, and we all know how that played out. Such hatred still exists to this day, as both East and West in the Cold War took in Nazis of all ranks to become bureaucrats and their new puppet states. I would also say that there is, which Nehemia, I'm sure you know this, but there is a lot of groundwork done for that, particularly in Eastern Europe, around the time of like the Bolshevik Revolution, that spilled over into what would become people's issues, Nazism during World War II. Sun Chaser, yeah, you have to be a Patreon member for the Discord. All right, so here we go. The State of Israel was established in 1948 as a Zionist project to replicate Western nationalist ambitions, with figures like David Ben Gurion himself railing against Holocaust survivors for having survived the Holocaust. Israel was built to replace the Jewish people, whom they saw as decrepit and weak. Nevertheless, they need the Jewish history of pain and survival to endure, because without it, they have nothing to justify their actions in Palestine. As such, they keep Jews in line by keeping us afraid, by holding over our heads the memories they stole from us. Israel has for decades funded and armed anti-Semitic regimes such as those in Romania, Iran, and Argentina, caused the mass expulsion of Jews in the Middle East, and continues to neglect their dwindling population of Holocaust survivors as they fund the American war machine. What you need to know is that Israel and Judaism are not only inextricably linked, but it is dangerous to conflate the two, as attacks against Jews have risen in recent years because of the association we have with Israel. You also need to understand that Israel does not control the U.S., rather the other way around. The U.S. needs Israel to be a friendly regional power to keep other Middle Eastern nations in check so that we can extract their oil and use their land for military purposes. As such, the U.S. needs to keep support for Israel as high as possible, and they do that by purposefully conflating Jews with Israel. Jews are not the biggest victims of Israel, but we still suffer because of them, even if we are unaware of it. thank you very much, Nehemiah, for that breakdown. Why can't we be friends? Mayflower Kid, thank you for following. And Americans Against Fear, thank you for following. Yeah. I'm gonna fucking cry, dog. Seeing like, oh, what a fucking. But also the soundtrack here, I will never forget seeing -1. -1 is the film that I've seen the most in theaters. Like, I think I saw -1 9 times in total, because it was such a immediately perfect film that, like, there are Godzilla movies where I'm like, okay, I can't take everybody to go see this. You know, like, I'm gonna go see the new fucking Godzilla Supernova because Godzilla, but I can't drag everybody with me to see that. You know, there are people who that's not gonna be their taste. They're gonna think it's dumb. Same with stuff like Shin Kamen Rider, a very weird film. You gotta bring a specific type of person to a movie like that who's gonna open to that. Godzilla -1 was a film that I was like, oh no, I'm taking everybody to see this shit. I'm taking everybody to see this. And I cannot describe. I talked about it with Louise Weird in our interview that we did. By the way, stay tuned to the channel. If you haven't watched that interview, go watch it, because I have another interview with another trans filmmaker dropping tomorrow. And this filmmaker, their first movie is being shown off soon at a film festival, and it is executive produced by Lily Wachowski. So stay tuned to the channel for that. That's a really fucking cool conversation with a good friend of mine. But the what was it, Godzilla -1 that we were talking about with hey. Bad dog. Kaiju movies seem like a genre 3 or 4 decades out of time to me. So that's the great part, is that there are different generations of kaiju movies, and you can pick up wherever you want. I would say, okay, here's off the dome. Here's DD's. If you are like, I've never seen a kaiju movie, I want to get into it. I want to see like the full breadth of the experience, and where do I start? Here is my top, and these are not my top 5 favorite kaiju movies. These are the ones I think, like, if you want to be like, you want to see the full breadth of what the genre has to offer. And again, I cannot underline. This is not a definitive top one. I'm going to write down Godzilla -1, number 1 with a bullet. -1. Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim. Gamera, Defender of the Universe. Well, yeah, Defender of the Universe. Gamera, Defender of the Universe. The first of the Heisei, the 90s Gamera trilogy. Godzilla, Final Wars. Which, hey, look, I get that's a controversial pick, but the goal in having that is that it is as far as you can get tonally from something like -1, while still being quintessentially Godzilla and still being so much fucking fun. It's so much fucking fun. What else? What would be a good 5th one? Maybe... Yeah, Ivan Against Queensland. I heard there's a Kurt Russell show about kaijus, but that's American, so not as authentic. No, Monarch whips. Monarch is actually really good. Monarch is Kurt Russell is in it, but it does such a good job of paying homage to the Japanese roots of Godzilla. It's some of the most like classic Godzilla feeling stuff to come out of the MonsterVerse, honestly. Yeah, maybe the original Godzilla. I think like the original Godzilla still fucking holds up really good. Gamera. Fucking banger songs. Yeah, anyway. So I would start there. Godzilla -1, Pacific Rim, Gamera Defender of the Universe, and then Godzilla Final Wars. But yeah, anyway. God, I keep going on tangents. Y'all shouldn't have got me started on Godzilla. Being in a theater and seeing -1 in IMAX and being center row during the battleship scene, which if you haven't seen the movie, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But this soundtrack, this track in particular plays. And I'm getting like chills right now just thinking about it because it is such a perfect moment of like musical cohesion in film. It's just it's unbeatable. It's fucking unbeatable. Anyway, I'm gonna restart this so we can watch it all the way through.
If their operation fails, maybe we'll finally get to use it.
Abort third drop. Repeat. Abort third drop.
Oh, he's so fucking goated, dude. Oh my god. Dexter Bronco, thank you for $4.99. Gamera is really neat. He's full of turtle meat. We believe in Gamera. Hey, Ella Eris, stop. Like, let's not have arguments calling like the Jewish religion evil. Let's not. Like, if you want, do we want to compare notes on Abrahamic religions and their figureheads? Because I feel like we're going to come away with the exact same level of shit you can pick apart, right? Like, let's not. And let's not even say we did. Let's just not. At least this would be better than Godzilla 1988 or 1998. No. Christian Garcia. No, the Monarch universe is all its own thing. They're doing kind of like a Batman thing right now. Where it's like, hey, we have our in-universe movies, and then we're going to let Takashi do what he fucking does. What else do we have? Showcast. I don't see, like, I see stuff like this, The Fall of the Quartering, and I see it's 2 hours. I'm like, I want to watch The Fall of the Quartering, but I know this is going to be somebody just kind of mumbling over shit for 2 hours. Yeah, I don't care about drama channels. Annoy the fuck out of me. That Kino Casino. Why is like, why do I have this fucking repulsive troglodyte, this missing link slug motherfucker on my goddamn timeline? Are you fucking kidding me? Eat shit. Pedophile Nazi fuck. Oh, I hate that stupid bitch. Sorry. I know. I react strongly when I see Sam Hyde. I can't help it. It is a physical revulsion. It is ah. But see, now, because I've been watching Esoterica, I'm getting Gnostic shit now. I watched like 3 hours on the Gnostic Gospels this morning. Or I guess listened to. All right, give me 1 second, chat. Let's throw on some more news real quick.
Hey there, Showdbusters, Showdbreakers, Showdophones, and Source Shows. Cheat shows. Here's some news. The midterms are coming up in a couple months. Maybe. Fingers crossed. Elections feel sort of, up in the air right now. That's the mood, at least. Despite the president and his Republican freak squad being overwhelmingly unpopular right now, they don't seem very nervous about getting reelected. Or rather, they don't seem to care about public opinion, but have a lot of, let's call them concerns about the election itself. Specifically, whether or not they can break them. Most recently, Trump signed an executive order directing the Department of Homeland Security to make a list of eligible voters and then barring the U.S. Postal Service from sending ballots to anyone not on his special list. Something that violates many laws and the Constitution, which is laws' dad. If only because the president simply isn't allowed to oversee elections. He can't just do anything he wants via executive order. That's not really how it works. And it's weird, we even have to litigate it. But I think Trump knows that and doesn't care. Dude kind of feels like the shark from Jaws, circling around the boat and ramming the hull in different spots to see if it'll break. For the most part, he keeps bouncing off each time. So far, we're seeing some cracks start to leak, but for now, he's not getting through. Meanwhile, everyone on board is drunk, a bunch of us are being eaten, and the people in charge are telling us the shark doesn't exist. But at least in Jaws, the boat never sinks. Right? I forget. Anyway, question. So, are there gonna be elections? Or, short answer? Yes, most likely. Spoilers for this episode, but there isn't much Trump could do to outright cancel or seize elections. Still, Trump is dying, it seems. His brain certainly is. And if he's not dying, he's contemplating the fact that he might, in theory, lose the midterms, which might, in theory, be bad for him should he continue living. So, it kind of feels like we're all sitting in the break room wondering whether he's going to burn the building down before he gets fired. Like Jerry Maguire if he got kicked into acid by the Batman. It's understandable to assume the guy who briefly wanted to invade Greenland might do something a bit impulsive, is my point, and he's given us reason to worry. There was the whole insurrection thing, can't forget that, but more recently, during an appearance on former podcaster turned former deputy director of the FBI turned current podcaster Dan Bongino's podcast, Trump flat out said that Republicans should take over state elections because the illegal immigrants, you see, they're voting in droves. And by droves, I mean, let's see, about 0.0
Who said chair stream? Who said chair stream? How dare you? I take offense to that. Is no chair stream here. How's everybody doing? Send me, yeah, let's chill and watch this. Let's vibe a little bit. queer devil. We need another country to attack us. I mean, look, you better be careful. You're going to end up on the fucking Democrat Party's hit list for being like, yeah, well, 9/11 was blowback. EXO forever. I just got this chair couple months ago. I fucking love it. I fucking love this chair so well. Granted, my old chair was just a pile of butts, just a real butt pile. Ooh, you're in trouble. New Warsaw
0.28% of voters in the state of Michigan alone, also known as 15 people. And even after the White House tried to walk his comments back, Trump doubled down like a molten pile of grease and hubris and told reporters in the Oval Office that
am I
some
building
states
fizz or magic? I'm kind of
can't
going.
be
I'm kind of
trusted
going
to run
balanced with it.
elections and should relinquish the process to Congress.
Oh god damn it!
Floated
I
some
forgot
feeble
I didn't
reasoning,
save last
attempting
time I
to
went down
reduce
into
the role of
this
states
area.
in an election to that of government employees counting votes, and suggesting that their electoral duties can be reassigned. He's also said, quote, "If a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it," referring to a throng of Republican congresspersons gathered around him like David Lopan's mystical henchmen. It sure
Deep
sounds
cut,
like the
deep
president
cut.
is saying the Republican-controlled federal government should
Blake Gunnels, I learned more about religion from Dee in the chat than from a church. I mean, like we like looking into shit here, you know? I feel like that's a big part of it. Metaphysical load, thank you for following. Is this the OG
handle
Subway Surfer?
elections for
Not
all
on
the
your,
corrupt
although
states,
we are
by
going to
which
get
he
a
means the Democrat ones, or whichever states don't vote the way
menorah.
he wants. Now, Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune hosed that notion
Have a good
down
one,
like
Joey J.
diarrhea at a bikini car wash. But House Speaker Mike Johnson has publicly indulged in election conspiracy theories perfectly suited for the King's Rose Garden Ballroom Jubilee. Really smearing that diarrhea everywhere. So
The
at
menorah's
best,
been lit.
we have a
What's
president
up?
saying, maybe no elections?
It's
and
menorah
a
time.
Congress
It's
who can't
lit.
agree whether or not that's bad. So they're just kind of not doing anything and hoping it'll work.
You like these guys, but they're painfully unfunny. I love Cody. Come on now. Come on now. At the moment, our glorious leader is in perfect health. You should, however, stock up on a bottle of your celebratory drink of choice in case we get to the most anticipated obituary of 2026. I want so much. I hate Wormbo. I know people hate Wormbo. I unfortunately love Wormbo because I am predisposed to loving Little Mischief beefs.
Out somehow. Maybe they'll die before it's an issue. They're all like 90 anyway.
Brain weird. Unfortunately,
Most
too many people grew up with
likely,
shit
Trump
churches.
is speaking this way in
Yeah.
order to butter the
it's
country
probably-
up for another stop the steal style gambit. Because of course he is.
Nehemiah, why is there a menorah? Is this a Jewish game? Nehemiah, we've never talked about SMT. What would y'all describe Shin Megami Tensei's like background? Like I mean, it draws from all religions really. But like the more kind of esoteric side of a lot of shit. So like Japanese esotericism. Well, yeah, but it's not like only Japan. Like it brings in a lot of Western, like what am I? Yeah, let me see if I can. There we go. Like, here's one. Ame no Uzume. I think this is a Celtic pagan creature. Dis unicorn. Pixie. Earthis. Yeah, modern Gnosticism is a good way to do it.
Still obsessed
Good way to
with
describe
losing
it.
to Biden. Joe Biden. This January, which was 40 or 50 years ago by now, the FBI seized ballots and voting records from Fulton County, Georgia, as part of a vague investigation of
That's a
election
pagan
fraud.
Celtic goddess? See,
In
okay.
reality, Trump is hammering Georgia largely because the Secretary of State refused to find extra votes for him back in 2020. That's a real conversation.
Hey, German cow JJ, what do you mean by that? What do you mean the creamed corn is still piling up on the floor? What does that mean? Huh? Huh? Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking rush these fools. I'm grinding a little bit. So it's just gonna be me walking around punching skulls for a little bit, I think.
That took place. We have it on tape.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state
I don't know about the
is a
corn cream plot line. What do you mean the corn cream plot line? Katie never. Okay, all right. It's some more new. I gotcha. Okay, yep. Velkin 999. I only ever played Digital Devil Saga. I want to play Digital Devil Saga. I never did. Now, okay, yes. Now I remember where the Wormbo narrative. I miss Wormbo. How about the signal front exposure? No, I'm gonna write that down though. I'll look that up. Did I make up that they said they were gonna do Persona 2 remake? Or like a remaster? No, Atlas Lead said he'd like to do Persona 1 and 2 remakes. 2 is a game I want to play so fucking bad, but it is so, like... In the West, it's 2 games. And in the West, one half was only released on the PlayStation 1, and the other half was only released on the PSP, if I'm remembering correctly. Because Persona 2 wasn't on the PSP. Persona 2 was not it was a different version. Innocent Sin is different than Eternal Punishment. Oh no, they would have to fucking... They would have to, like, fully take it back to basics, which they should. No, and that's the thing, is that, like, they could, with more modern production and stuff, they could make the combat so much better. Just put the, like, I like what they would do, some of the shit they were doing in fucking Metaphor ReFantazio. Okay, that's right. Innocent Sin is the version with the children. Eternal Punishment is the one with the adults. Eternal Punishment was my favorite because the, like, plot and story, I didn't ever play more than a couple hours, but the plot and story and, like, being adults in that Japanese RPG setting is something, like, the other SMT games do it a little bit, but so many of the Persona games just focus on fucking teenagers, and I really don't care for it. And so, like, the idea of having, hey, here's just a, the path, yeah, no shit, the path is blocked. Thank you. Fucking Captain Obvious over here.
great testament to our country, because you know.
I love how he framed it like, find me a way to win the state that I didn't win
Persona
because
child
we
and
won the
persona
state,
adult.
which I flipped from 2016, even though I did win it in 2016, unlike now, which is a great testament to the country. Like he'd forgotten the beginning of the sentence he was saying and was already celebrating his own lie. Anyway, this non-specific investigation is clearly just an excuse to steal records and search them for anything that can retroactively be used to generate criminal charges. And hey, that's illegal. Unconstitutional even, if you want to get nasty about it, according to a pending lawsuit against the Trump administration, which is just one of hundreds.
What the fuck?
Great job, awesome president
Where'd he
we've
go?
got. The FBI actually
boy back. What the
seized
fuck?
sensitive election records, including hundreds of boxes of ballots themselves, in addition to ballot images and voter rolls. This was after
They
a
just
judge
killed my boy?
explicitly told
The
them
hell?
they couldn't do
Oh,
that
that's
and could only
fucked,
make
dude.
copies of the records until they went to a different judge willing to play ball. Because I guess they really wanted the physical ballots for some reason. Also, according to the Fulton County Commissioner, the search warrant was for 2 misdemeanors, the statute of limitations on which had long since expired. So it was a flimsy search warrant used as a screen to conduct an illegal seizure of voting records and physical
What
ballots.
game is this? This is
The County
Shimigami
Commission
Tensei
has
3
also pointed out
Nocturne.
that they no longer have a
Featuring
chain
Dante.
of custody.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the Dante from Devil May Cry thing, you have to start a new game for it to take effect, which is such shit because I'm like, I'm 12 hours in, I'm not going to fucking restart, but man, I kind of wish.
Custody inventory for the ballots, meaning there's no longer a complete record of where all the ballots are or who had control of them at what point. If you've watched a lot of cop shows, you've probably heard that term before. It's the clerical procedure they use to
What even is the actual, like, what is SMT and what is Persona? Persona has kind of become the more, they're all hyper stylish, but Persona is more like youthful, vibrant. It's much more story based, and you're exploring these. I think the thing that has come to define Persona with 3, 4, and 5 is like the day cycle, but SMT is much more dungeon crawly, focused on RPG mechanics. I would say is a good way to kind of
keep people from destroying, altering, or otherwise tampering with evidence. I wonder if that's relevant. Anyway, sorry, Fulton County. I hope you're able to track down your ballots again. And Fulton County super wants these back, by the way. They're doing a whole trial about it right now, during which one of the
No time
witnesses,
for friendship.
an
Exactly.
election security expert who worked at the U.S. Election Assistance Commission, testified that the entire justification for this raid had, quote, no basis in reality. After all, the FBI hasn't really even indicated what exactly it is investigating in the first place. I mean, since when do they justify things anymore anyway?
I love
We
how
went to
everybody
war
has an
over
entirely
vibes.
different
Director
reason
Cash
why
Patel told
Persona
Fox News
is
that they just
different
need
from
to
SMT.
go through the voluminous amounts of information collected and continue
fuck you,
our
dude.
investigation. In other words, we'll
They're
let
just
you
gonna punch
know
him to
what
death.
we're looking
Pong,
for
pong,
when we
pong.
find it. That's the can-do attitude
Have a good
that
one,
wins
Rab
you future
Woofies.
indictments. So, yeah, it's just so obvious what happened here. Trump told the FBI to go get these ballots because of his dumb election fraud lie, and then the FBI had to make up a reason after the fact.
Like,
Trump
y'all are getting so crazy on it. Nullifier Pro. Persona is like Twin Peaks. SMT is like Stephen King's The Stand. What? Like, I guess, kinda. Oh, there's nothing in this one. A science of the
even
morning.
spoke directly with FBI agents during this raid. One government official described the call as about a minute long and the kind of pep talk you might give to a little league team right before
Whoa.
handing out orange slices. If only Trump had been allowed to play sports.
Aw,
Ah,
poor
curse
Nick.
those
Damn.
bone
Oh,
spurs.
are these the bosses I've killed?
Notably, Trump gave the agents no specific instruction or direction for the investigation. Just go in there and find some crime. And then they did it
Oh,
because
right. I didn't
that's
kill
what
Fornix.
sniffling henchmen do. After all, Cool Cash got to be big boy FBI by being a personal sounding board for Trump's election grievances, like that guy sidekicking for the mummy. He played golf with Trump and listened to him
Sidekicking
vent
for the
about
mummy.
terminating election laws and the
Ria Saros, thank you very much for following.
Constitution, presumably while letting the commander-in-chief, more like jerkmander,
Would I ever go on the line
shave a
call-in
few
show?
strokes off his game.
I mean, I probably
Just
wouldn't
a
call
casual
in, but
fash hang down at the green,
I am
knocking
unfamiliar
putts
with
over
it. I don't
Ivana's
see why I wouldn't,
grave.
though.
Here's the president back in January rambling about the rigged 2020 election and vowing that the people responsible for his big humiliating failure will be prosecuted.
It's a war that should have never started, and it wouldn't have started if the 2020 U.S. presidential election weren't rigged. It was a rigged election. Everybody now knows that. They found out. People will soon be prosecuted for what they
God,
did.
I hate this motherfucker so much.
It's probably breaking news, but it should be. It was a rigged election. Can't have rigged elections.
Everyone knows it. All out in the open. Rigged election. It is amazing. He'll just say that as if it happened. Like someone showed him an AI video of Joe Biden and George Soros eating ballots. But I guess that's the difference between a lying hobbyist and a professional. You gotta drink your own hogwash until you love it. The point is, it's not clear exactly what charges the FBI are pursuing because it took a bunch of stuff it wasn't supposed to. And I don't think it matters to them what they find or even if they find anything, so long as it looks like some kind of crime happened. They got out all their tough guy vests and gear and stormed in there like they were taking down the Unabomber.
Whoa,
so that
buddy.
the stupidest people in the world could see it on TV and go, oh, wow, something must be up with those elections. Trump, an actual criminal we let be the president, felt scorned by all the times he was investigated and raided by law enforcement because of the real crimes he did, and clearly just wants to wield that power on his perceived enemies. In this case, people who did their jobs instead of helping him steal an election. But that's just an added bonus to the main goal of this, which is to sow doubt in our electoral process. Because whether or not he can cancel or steal the election, Donald Trump has absolutely fantasized about it. He's mused about it for years. He openly admires dictators and dictatorial regimes, chuckling about getting a third term. Oh, also, he already tried to overthrow the United States by attempting to block the certification of a presidential election. Remember that? I feel like I should mention that again. That's a red flag, right? He's the only person in modern American history to refuse the peaceful transfer of power. Seems bad. Dare I say, I don't think we should ever have a president who shows open disdain for democracy and jokes about canceling elections, even if, and this is important, he really can't. Because he can't. Good news! Good news! Donald Trump can't cancel our elections. Midterm, presidential, rose ceremony results, or rather, he can say he's canceling elections, but they'll just keep happening around him. And I will explain why, which unfortunately means I have to explain how elections work too.
A new enemy?
So
Fuck
sorry.
you.
The electoral process, it turns out, is pretty densely complicated. Each state runs their own elections, as stipulated by the Constitution. States directly elect their own representatives for Congress, but indirectly elect the president via a system of electors, who generally vote according to whichever candidate won the popular vote for their state, although in some states they're not technically required to. But in 32 states, they are required by law to reflect the wishes of the voters. There were a lot of shenanigans with that back in the 2020 election, with Trump frantically trying to sway electors to vote against.
Oh yeah, I am not that guy 7166. We talked about not just that. What are the other fucking incidents he had? My cat is loafing right here, by the way, for anybody curious.
Their population's wishes, or to outright replace electors with crackpot loyalists. If you're wondering, no, you can't do that. Electors are themselves voted in and aren't just like anyone. What Trump was doing was the equivalent of this.
This verdict is written on a cocktail napkin, and it still says guilty. And guilty is spelled wrong.
It was a crime, in fact, one that many of the fake electors got in trouble for, at least until being pardoned, of course. Had these fake votes made it to Congress, there was simply no way they would decide
don't even want to know what the whale
overturn
incident
the
is?
results
No,
based
you
on
don't.
them,
You genuinely
even if the
super
Republicans
don't.
wanted to,
It's
unless, you know, violent
I
mob
can take 5 fucking steps
stormed
in
the
this fucking
Capitol
place.
and successfully executed the vice president and put Trump in power by force. And since January 6th, those rules put on Congress have become even tighter. As for the individual states, elections are held by district. Each district is responsible for holding, staffing, and tallying their votes, then recording the results and reporting them to the state. When the state has collected the results from every district, it records and reports them as well, until we have a final tally, and then everyone gets together in the nation's capital, takes the blood oath, certifies the results, swears in the next president, and goes back to their Illuminati bunkers. In terms of both presidential and congressional elections, the physical ballots never leave their respective districts. That's very important. It's part of that whole chain of custody inventory. Some states even have different methods of calculating the results. Most states do a simple majority, but Alaska and Maine have ranked choice voting. Maine also assigns its electoral votes to districts, same as Nebraska, so candidates have to win a majority of those districts in order to snag their respective electoral votes. Several states like Texas, Florida, and Michigan span multiple time zones, which adds further logistical kinks to the process. I think Wisconsin has a cheese-based system where you feed mice and the plumpest one wins. I hope it's that. This is all to say that the American electoral process is almost completely decentralized. It's a tangled web of jurisdictions within jurisdictions in every state of the union, and it's nearly impossible to pull apart. And while you may think that's inefficient, that is by design for exactly the crisis we are currently experiencing. Trump has and will perpetually test America's guardrails against fascism for as long as we
did talk about the
with elections. There's simply no way for him to litigate or legislate or influence enough to change or sway the core process, especially not before the midterms, and especially not to the midterms. Again, he could say, "No elections. Thank you for your attention to this matter." But since it's all run in the states, he can't force them to stop. No, not by declaring martial law or invoking the Insurrection Act either. Or rather, not legally. Not without a massive power grab that would most certainly result in a civil war, which technically he could do, I guess. The same way he could do anything. The same way a meteor could hit me in the dick. It's possible, but not likely, because it would require not just Trump, but everyone around
fuck
Trump.
you, Nekomata. Taco Face Fart, thank you for $5. Sometimes when I'm at a Zoom meeting, I lose track of what the meeting is because I'm too busy admiring myself. Thank you for sharing, I guess. Anime Sidekick Gal, thank you for $2. Bye-bye, Benny.
To willingly and very deliberately
why are you talking about
piss in the face
Carlos
of
Resident
every
Evil being
American and
yassified?
throw this country into chaos. Chaos that would be antithetical to their goals, even their evil goals. Like, I know they're all very stupid people, but even they want to, like, survive. Also, and most importantly, they don't think they need to do this.
What am I playing? I'm playing
because
Shin
this
Megami
isn't a
Tensei
binary
3.
situation. Elections aren't either free and fair or non-existent. There are so many ways that Trump and his pals can skew the next election in their favor. So it's time to talk about the very real ways that can happen after the ad break. I love democracy, but I love these products so much more.
I love you, Katie, but no.
Say, if you ask me what awesome movies were available from
oh my god, y'all had
way for Trump to simply cancel elections, not without completely upending the country, much like the shark did to the boat at the end of Jaws. And while maybe Trump, a dying man with a melting brain, might be more than happy to do that, I don't think J.D. Vance wants to get blown up with an oxygen tank. Metaphorically, of course. Can't always get what we want, though. So it's far more likely that the GOP will embrace less direct methods of screwing with the
Why does nobody
midterms
recognize
and
this game? They don't know
election. Same way
People just
they
don't know
always
ball
have.
anymore the way they
so
used
let's
to.
run through all the methods Trump the demon fish is trying like hell to screw with elections, to gum up the works, to queer the pitch, to dick the Tracy, to manufacture distrust. I wasn't done. To jabber the jaws. Okay, I'm done now. So this is step one in an escalating series of steps. It costs them very little to foment distrust in the election process, and subsequently the results of any election they don't like. That's MAGA classic. They spent Biden's entire administration attacking the future results of the 2024 election, before realizing they didn't have to when the Democratic Party tripped over the corpses of thousands of dead children for the L. 70% of Republicans.
Just to be here for 9, how do I feel about people making YouTube poops in my videos? Fine, I guess. I don't really care. Like, I'm not averse to like people making fun of me or anything. It's just like a lot of the people making fun of me thus far are incredibly yeah, this is the version with Rido Kid Capes. Uninteresting.
Said they didn't think the 2020 elections were free and fair, but those numbers were almost completely inverted after 2024. Whoops. I guess voting works fine, or whatever, when Republicans win. But now that Trump and his cronies are doing
this
a
game
wind
looks
sprint
fucking
towards
insanely
total
good.
authoritarianism,
What the fuck is this?
They're returning to that same old mix CD of lying about voter fraud by illegals.
What
like the most racist volume of Now That's What I Call Music. You know the one. And just to start, not only is there very little evidence of non-citizens voting in our elections, but very little voter fraud overall.
No good.
Back in 2021, the Associated Press did a deep dive into this and sent a gaggle of reporters to talk to 340 election officials across the country to look for evidence of fraud.
This is gonna go bad.
They came up with a total of 475 potential instances, ranging from people who didn't realize they couldn't vote to people deliberately voting on behalf of a dead relative. All in all, none of these cases could have swayed the 2020 election, in which over 150 million people voted. But that's not going to stop them from constantly acting like our elections are under attack, putting Nick Shirley on the case to turn their supporters against any election where the results are undesirable. Oh, did a Democrat flip a state in the midterms? Must be that fraud we kept talking about. Weird how only the blue states do fraud.
Nope.
But what's kind of amazing is that at the same time Trump is talking about the dangers of election interference and fraud, he's actually working to remove every protection against election interference he can. For example, he's dismantling election safeguards he himself implemented during his first administration. In 2018, Trump signed a law creating the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, which operated under the purview
These
of the Department
yuckos
of
are
Homeland
terrible.
Security,
Oh my
providing
gosh.
resources and expertise to states on how best to safeguard elections from outside interference. And it was a bipartisan success, one of the rare victories of the Trump administration. He doesn't get a lot of wins for the history books, and CISA was a genuine W, not the Bush kind. Never the Bush kind. I guess sort of the Bush kind with Iran. Flash forward to 2026, and Trump has gutted CISA, a move his administration has been told by multiple sources will leave state and local election offices more vulnerable to attack.
This is going bad for
He
me, I'm not
also
gonna lie.
launched investigations and indictments against former CISA director Christopher Krebs for disloyalty, after Krebs rejected Trump's baseless claims of interference in the 2020 election. Specifically, Krebs referred to them as technically incoherent, which is a slightly more polite way of saying the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
That shit sucks,
Trump's campaign
dude.
lawyer at the time, Joe DiGenova, told Newsmax that Krebs should be executed for his remarks. So to recap, the president has dismantled the
am I having
organization
trouble
he
here?
created
Yeah, dog.
to safeguard elections and is trying to prosecute and maybe kill the person in charge, all in the run-up to the midterms. So while he's not personally attacking elections, he's essentially putting a delicious pie on the windowsill and theatrically covering his eyes. Except he wouldn't even cover his eyes because he's so dumb and bad at both crime and not being obvious about the many crimes he personally commits. He would just stand there leering at the pie like it's an 8th grade pageant winner. So that's tier 1, simply making the public feel generally uneasy with the election process by claiming widespread fraud while simultaneously making it easier for widespread fraud. And once enough people are convinced of all the fraud or do the fraud because he made it easy for them, he can then move on to step 2. Disrupt the process. So when I say disrupt the process, I mean any attempt, legal or not, to make it harder to vote or harder for your vote to count. So for example, that old classic of gerrymandering, which we're seeing in states like North Carolina and Texas. Of course, that's to be expected from both parties, and frankly, it's weird we haven't done something about it. But I guess to do something about it, we need the people who love gerrymandering to do the thing about the thing they love. So, again, whoops, fucked that up. Fucked up saying whoops. More like whoops. Anyway, we'll fix it next country. Old news is my point. Let's talk about some of the more innovative ways the GOP will be making it harder to vote. There's, of course, purging of voter rolls, which is the act of accessing lists of registered voters and finding ways to disqualify them based on technicalities. In theory, that sounds apolitical, unless you selectively do this in areas more likely to vote for your opponents, which is what they do. Voter roll purging, like gerrymandering, is another grotesque violation that we just sort of accept as conservative political strategy that needs to be outsmarted. We've already seen some pretty outrageous tomfoolery in dozens of states like Tennessee and Georgia, in which eligible voters have had their registrations canceled due to spurious reasoning like address changes or inactivity. Remember, voting is a constitutional right, just like free speech and the Crunchwrap Supreme. It doesn't expire. You don't lose those things by not using them. At least not yet, because Trump's Department of Justice has now been demanding voter rolls from several states and is currently suing more than 20 of them
I can't even go a couple
for the information, including Minnesota, which I'm sure had nothing to do with Trump's decision to deploy ICE to Minneapolis and unleash dystopic violence everywhere. Okay, specifically, the DOJ wants the names, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, addresses, and registered parties of every voter, with the end goal of creating a national voter roll. You know, for safety. In a confidential memorandum between the Department of Justice and the states willing to share voter rolls, the DOJ requires that those states remove any voters deemed ineligible by a federal review. And other reports have indicated that the Trump administration is already sharing those
What's a
voter
Crunchwrap
rolls
Supreme
with the
like?
Department
Heavenly.
of Homeland Security, presumably to run citizenship checks,
It's like fun on a
or
bun.
whatever we're calling it this week. In theory, if you actually trusted the federal government, this might not be an immediate disaster, but all it would take is one corrupt administration to abuse this, right? Can't think of one off the top of my head,
No.
but you get the idea. Hypothetically, if a president was like a criminal and openly considered the opposition party enemies and actively
well, this is
refused
something,
to
at least for
represent
somebody.
the
That's a
interests
safe
of all
thingy.
Americans,
Death
all right.
Stone 1.
Well,
Sounds
you
great.
would see how this imaginary scenario would be bad. More on that later. Anyway, so far, a handful of Republican states have complied, because of course they have, while dozens of others continue to refuse. Possibly because the stated purpose of a national voter roll is as flimsy as Michelangelo's nunchucks. I never met one kid who didn't snap Mikey's chucks the moment they came out of the package. Bad toy. Speaking of other flimsy shit, Trump has gone bananas for passing the SAVE Act,
That's not-
which would require everyone to present proof of citizenship in order to register to vote. He really wants this to happen for Jesus.
And I'm requesting that the
All right, I
Republican
think-
senators do that immediately. You don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter
Leftist
going
Subway
home.
Surfer
In
stream?
fact, make this one for Jesus.
Fraudage
okay?
Core, are you? Oh, you
Make
might be
this one
behind
for
Fraudage
Jesus.
Core.
That's what I tell
Which
him.
I guess, in
Yes,
which case you'll hear
Jesus
this in like 40 minutes.
loved Papers, Please. You've probably heard a lot of conflicting statements about the severity of the SAVE Act. In short, it would require anyone registering to vote to present proof of U.S. citizenship, typically a passport or birth certificate, which a large portion of the population does not have. If you're married and change your last name, for example, you may have to obtain additional documents to prove your citizenship. A lot of married people, especially older couples, don't have that stuff readily available. Additionally, even small changes to your address might require re-registration due to this act. Trump is also pushing to make mail-in voting nearly impossible unless you have an illness or disability or are the president, apparently, because Trump just voted by mail and also lied about why he voted by mail. Considering that voter fraud is near non-existent and voting is your right, the SAVE Act would create unnecessary hurdles for a lot of people, requiring them to pay fees to get the needed documents for no good reason. Essentially, it's an indirect poll tax, which is an illegal practice of requiring payment to vote, long outlawed by the 24th Amendment. Before then, poll taxes were created in
so
the
I can
Jim
cross
Crow
diagonally
South
without
in order
worrying
to
too
prevent anyone of limited income from voting. Namely, all the newly emancipated Black
this is
Americans.
this is just a
As I
different
said,
way
and
down
we'll keep
or
saying,
back up.
voting is a
What is
constitutional
this hell
right.
palace, dude?
But there is a clear push by the GOP to make it less of a right for others. They can't outright stop women and minorities and poor people from voting, so they have the SAVE Act instead. They love using this innocent-sounding reasoning that, well, if you're not illegal, you have nothing to worry about. But it's strange that the party who hates big government is trying to put up as many bureaucratic hurdles as they can when it comes to the
I just
simple
wanna
act
love you,
of
game. Why
electing
do
our
you hate me?
representatives. Especially since, and this is worth noting, the SAVE Act will hurt just as many, if not more, conservative voters.
Dog, I can't.
Especially if red states just start doing their own little SAVE Acts, which is what Sweaty Ron is trying to do right now in Florida. At
What are
best,
we
it's
fucking
a misguided
doing, dude?
attempt at unneeded
right,
election
I'm
security
outta
that will
here.
decrease
I'm
voter
fucking
turnout. At
jetting.
worst, it's a direct effort to disenfranchise the poorer classes. Either way, it's bad. But it's still not the most sinister way that
Scooby-Dooby
Trump
like
could
that.
disrupt
What the
elections.
fuck?
Because remember,
All right, we're
his
just gonna
primary
go-
goal has been to sow doubt in the security and legitimacy of elections themselves. Something he would need to do very soon in order to survive the midterms. If only he had some kind of goon squad to help him out with that.
Will you rule out the deployment of ICE or CBP to polling places this November? There are no plans to have ICE officers at our polling locations. And
I'm glad to hear that, but would you rule it out? Would you say it will not happen?
do you plan on illegal aliens voting in our elections, Senator?
I do not. In
okay,
fact,
then
the
there
Heritage
should be no need to,
Foundation,
unless you plan on illegal
Madam
aliens
Secretary,
voting.
the Heritage...
God, I'm so
no
glad
ICE
she's
at
fucking
polls
gone.
unless you plan to let illegals vote. Something that Trump believes is happening. Seems scary. Whatever. I'm sure ICE won't be at polling stations. It's not like they're barging into other areas like the airport, nor has the idea already been floated by Trump's pals like Steve Bannon multiple times, in fact.
If they don't have illegal aliens voting, if they
Hey,
don't
party
have
fully
these
recovered. Let's
phony
go.
migrants that are here on these phony programs that are at the polls, and you're damn right, we're going to have ICE surround the polls come November.
Oh, wait. It is like those things. See how they keep framing it like, well, if you're going to have illegals vote, we have no choice.
Allie Pennington, thank you for subscribing.
Despite zero actual evidence that's happening. Because it doesn't matter, right? Never mind that the presence of armed federal agents or the military at a polling hub is explicitly illegal. The plan here is to manufacture a fake crisis and then claim you have no other choice but to respond to it. Just throwing up their hands like, well, I guess if no one eats that cake in the fridge, I better do it before it goes bad. Except the cake is fascism, and the fridge is America. Wait, the cake is America. The fridge is the planet? The mouth is the fascism. Nailed it. Meanwhile, the dumbest people who ever lived are gonna claim that no one should be threatened unless they have something to hide.
This place is a fucking prison, dog.
You don't want ICE at polling stations? Well, you must want illegals to vote then. Except that's obviously not the problem. ICE has been routinely detaining anyone with a suntan, brutalizing and even killing people who
I learned this. I already learned this, chat.
In turn, pisses everyone off. Because most people don't really like the presence of masked goons pulling people out of voting lines, right? Most people like voting and believe in voting. At least I hope that's still true. So while the obvious concern here is voter intimidation, I think there's an even shittier plan at work. The same reason they are sending ICE to airports during the shutdown. They want the process to fail, to justify sweeping changes. They want ICE to show up specifically in blue areas and piss people off.
I know, Rabbit's right. I just don't have any
and police brutality
Zio
to surround
right now.
the polling sites.
Zio.
That way, they can throw up their hands and declare the process to be broken. They can claim the midterms were fraudulent, or even worse, that the states themselves can't handle the voting process anymore. Going back to that quote from Trump,
I want to see elections be honest, and if a state can't run an election, I think the people behind me should do something about it. Because, you know, if you think about it, a state is an agent for the federal government in elections. I don't know why the federal government doesn't do them anyway.
Maybe it won't happen before the midterms, but I think Donald Trump is hoping that, through some dark magic, he could manage to nationalize our elections before his time is up. So, after the break, we're going to explore that possibility. Do you like ads? Don't answer.
Most of her day.
It would be a shame if I were out dono this stream, wouldn't it?
I can't so much.
It's been a pretty low dono stream.
Come noontime, who can plan on a week's worth of nourishment
need some food
whilst
again. She's
riding,
yelling at me.
roping,
All right, give me
and
1
rustling?
second.
Well, thankfully, all that done changed once I discovered Hungry Root. They're my one-stop feed shop for planning a week's worth of fixings, delivering everything to my homestead and not breaking the bank while doing it. Haha. They've got over 50,000 recipes to spare you from posting up hungry at the chuck wagon, and most of them can be compiled in one 6%, 40% off your first order.
I would love to get to a point.
We were talking about the
ads where I can just do shit like that, where I could just ad lib, because I'm sure they get to a point where they're just people go, yeah, do whatever. You know, to have this shit in the ad read and go wild. That's what I really want. Do I think Stephanie Meyer of the Twilight? Yeah, of course. Of course.
tactics Trump has been employing and will continue to employ
This
in order to
ranch accent
monkey
is
with
working on me.
elections.
You're sick for that.
Canceling the
You're
election
sick puppy
outright
for that,
will
Mr.
be
Yago.
almost impossible, but so far the president has attempted to create distrust in the results
we're just gonna
before a
punch this
single
bitch to
vote
death.
has been cast. So he can disrupt the process as much as possible by purging voter rolls, suing states, and blowing up the
Banana
department
Brains
tasked
YYZ. No,
with
Zio
safeguarding
is the name of a
elections.
spell.
He's making sure the shark cage is
Banana Brains.
unlocked
I'm not saying
before
like
poor little Matt
Zionist.
Hooper
I'm saying
even climbs
Zio
inside.
is the name of
Before the break, we talked
it's
about
the name of like the
possibility of using
lightning
ICE
thunder
to disrupt the
Thundara
midterms to such an extent that
of
Trump declares
SMT.
the
Astro
entire
Calico,
process
thank you
to be
very
in
much
need of
for
intervention, which brings us to step 3.
6 months SMT3. Damn, you have some
Nationalizing
I've always
elections.
wanted to.
Trump's final move,
I
his limit
still have yet to
break, his
finish a
ultra
Persona
combo,
game, but
if
we're
you
gonna
will,
fucking
would be
give
to
the old college try because
nationalize
I'm only playing
elections.
PS2 games this
It's
year.
a devastating
And it
scheme
was
he has
either this
repeatedly
or Final Fantasy
floated.
X. I
I
might
already
still
kind
end
of
up going back
explained
to
why this is
Final
objectively a bad
Fantasy X as
idea.
well.
But to reiterate, let's pretend you are a fan of Donald Trump and voted for him 3 times despite him screwing up every goddamn thing in this country, from the pandemic to the economy to this latest war. Do we have a clip to represent
I enjoyed it.
this
I will say,
hypothetical person?
Balessa. So Balessa and I will be doing another. I'll be doing another ad for Balessa. Which, if you don't know, was the sex toy company that sponsored my video about Daily Wire's fantasy series, the Pendragon Cycle, whatever the hell. And Balessa has been legit. I've had 3, 4, 5 different like companies I've collabed with, or done, you know, ad integrations with, and Balessa was by far the easiest and best. Okay, Zio. All right. See, that's what I didn't know. I didn't know if it was Zio or Zio.
How many times? 3 times. That was my bad. Apparently, I'm an idiot.
Thank you. Now, even if you think that Trump could be trusted for some reason with overseeing the elections, including the presidential...
Is it only PS2 games? So it is anything from the PS2 era. So I am defining that basically lightly. It gets a little fuzzy, but basically Dreamcast to PSP. But it's mostly from that era. El Salve, thank you for $5. Place your bets, everybody. How will Trump stop the elections to win? Blame Iran, Russia, COVID, Antifa. Bet on Chinese interference. Fuck. China might actually be stepping in to do that shit. Who the fuck votes Trump 3 times? Ivan against Cuisine. I don't know where Dante pops up. So Dante from Devil May Cry 2 pops up in SMT3 as a recurring character, Rido the detective. Just they like swapped the models and added different voice lines and stuff.
Elections. Well, you see the problem, right? Please tell me you see the problem. There's a reason we don't let children grade their own tests, or set their own bedtimes, or let presidents be in charge of their own elections. This is like basic square peg, don't go in round hole reasoning. If you trust Trump, the next president could be someone you don't trust. It could be Hunter Biden.
Right, this is the place I'm supposed to give them menorahs.
Smoking crack, putting loyalists in charge of our elections, smoking more crack. This is a very stupid idea that Trump is trying to make seem reasonable. And as he does, we're going to see more and more polls and opinion pieces about it, gradually giving it more and more credence as an option. He and other online
hate when the hole
are
is
going
blocked.
to start talking about the crooked California elections, the blue state fraud, and how it's time for a big, tough president to be in charge of elections. Definitely no conflict of interest there. It's the only way to keep elections safe from all the illegal aliens and the woke mob. This will go double.
Alrighty, chat. We've had a good time here tonight. We've been vibing for a little bit. I have a bit of a partner date that I'm going to. You're good, Ella Eris. Really quick, Ella Eris, thank you for $10. Sorry for getting triggered and losing my temper, for I have deep childhood trauma that gets triggered by any Abrahamic believer, but I shouldn't let my hurt control my words and actions. You know what, Ella Eris? I appreciate that, and I am sure Nehemiah and everybody else does too. That's very big of you. That's very mature on the internet, and I know I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's been fun watching you play SMT3. I think I'm gonna try and play. I've kind of been trying to play more games and stuff, even though I know that's not what y'all come for. Why don't I throw papers around like Cody? I could have. I had papers on my desk earlier. I actually could have. Oh, I could have done. Oh, why I oughta. I could have. Oh. All right, we've got. God damn. Yeah, I do. I do need to just be playing more games and shit. We're gonna go over. Everybody, go say hi. Go over to. We're gonna go over to the Black Nerd Gaming, friend of the channel, friend of the show. Go like, subscribe, follow. They'll be playing some games as well. Looks like they're also talking about some political stuff. They do really good political content and commentary. So I would absolutely recommend following them on socials. They're a really great follow, really great channel. So that's who we're going to raid over on Twitch. Go say hi, go send some love. And for everybody else, tomorrow, another interview hitting the channel with another trans filmmaker. I'm very excited for this one, so please go like, follow, do all